This draft? What's there not to say? This is just the beginning for these guys. It's time to come home.
Trying to make a dribble and fumbles the football. It's picked up and walking into the end zone.
All these minor league players looking to make their impact? There's only one place to do that.
Oh my goodness!
Put up or shut up.
Oh boy!
The time to make your mark is now. Never before has the spotlight been brighter.
He always comes up big in big-time situations.
Can you stand the heat?
They did not catch him.
I made my mark.
With the 13th pick, the Chicago Wildcats select Mike Improta.
It's time to make yours.
Throwing it to the top of the screen. Looks like Mike Improta get the call.
This is the SFL draft. I'll see you on the field.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome into the Season 15 Simulation Football League Draft. My name is Rich Pratchard. I will be your host tonight, and the four guys I'm going to try and keep on track throughout the night. You see there on the screen below me, you can see Damon Simeon, the owner of the Houston Hyenas. Robert Garrett Jr. is the general manager of the Fort Worth Toros. Liam Crowder, the owner of the London Knights, and Tim Hackett, a play-by-play broadcaster and a hopeful rookie hoping to get in here. How is everybody doing tonight? How you doing, Damon?
Hey, I'm doing great, Rich. Excited. I'm glad to be here, man. Looking forward to the second round of the SFL draft here tonight. You know, a lot of rookies are excited to get off the board.
Well, we've got Louisiana on the clock. The Louisiana Revolution are on the clock. They're going to get things started here in round two. And first thing they did last night, they had the third pick last night, and they picked defensive end, Ross Napoli. Robert, tell us what you think about that pick and what you think Louisiana needs to do next.
You know, I thought the pick of Ross Napoli was a great pick. A really good guy that I got the chance to talk to a couple times through the minor league season. And, you know, I think that Gerald, who you see there on the screen now, is probably looking at receiver, looking to get some weapons for Pickler. And I saw him, Pickler, in the chat today talking a little bit about Beth Horrell. So I'm wondering if maybe you see the second Horrell come off the board.
Yeah, Liam, go to you next. There were only, I want to say, 3 offensive players picked last night. Do we go back defense here this early, or do you think we're going to see offense right off the bat, wide receiver or something like that for Louisiana?
I think they've got a few different options here. You know, Louisiana, I know Gerald very well, and I know Jeff very well, and they play a very similar sort of offense to what we did, obviously coming from London and then going into a new team in Louisiana. I mean, I would be interested to see where exactly the run on wide receivers start. We didn't see any picked in the first round. I'd be very surprised if we went through the second round without seeing any of the wide receivers picked. There's such good value there. And you know, I think Louisiana, they've got a couple of wide receivers already in Seren Storm and Chase L. But that could be an option for them to go to wide receiver or even get maybe another tight end.
All right, Tim, hopeful rookie. Tell us how these rookies are feeling coming into round two, hoping to get picked in a very unusual draft for the Simulation Football League. Kind of trending in this direction. A lot of rounds, a lot of players to be picked. How you guys feeling?
Well, I mean, Rich, I think I can sum it up in one word: excited. Everybody that I've talked to says that and you kind of got a taste for this last night with all 22 picks. There's so much opportunity, as you just alluded to. There are so many rounds, 2 brand new teams, obviously this year, so a brand new era for the Simulation Football League, and just really unprecedented availability, places that players can go. So people are excited to see where they can go. I know a lot of people looking ahead to tomorrow a little bit are looking forward to showing what they can do, their willingness to adapt, even if they don't get their primary position, if they have to flex to a secondary position. if that's what it takes to get them on a major league team, they're willing to do that. So I think people are excited. They're willing to show what they can do, whatever it takes.
Damon, as an owner, coming into this draft with so many more options than you've had in the past, so many more players, there are going to be players, unfortunately, that do not get picked in this draft. What are you looking at as an owner? How much stock are you putting into the simulation or the SFL minor leagues? What are you looking at?
The one thing I look at as an owner, and I hate to give away this great advice that I have discovered on my own, I'm pretty sure the owners have noticed this as well, is value. You have to look at the value of the player. You look at the check-ins. According to April 1st, how many check-ins did the players miss according to, the document that's on the website? You have to look at the value of the player. Also, you go about as far as how the player played on the field, how they were in the locker room and the SFLM and so forth. But I most definitely look at the value, the check-ins that the player has made, and which is going to bring great value to my team as well.
So if you go and look at the best available players at the positions that Louisiana needs, so you look at wide receiver, the best available that I can see: Mike Twinscrew, Eagle Mondavi, Art Vandelay. These are kind of the top of the wide receiver pool that's out there right now, and that's a glaring need right now for Louisiana, in my opinion. Especially with Pickler coming in, need to give him some weapons, but then you've also got defensive tackle. Just a lot of guys out there. Bernard Patterson got picked up last night. So you got A.K. Jones, Igor Barbatov, he's from over on the other side of the pond by you, Liam. Not sure where he's going to go, but talk to us about him if you've had any chance to look at him.
I haven't had much of a chance to have a look at him, but I think it probably speaks to the amazing diversity and the wide range of personalities that we have in the league, and that's really great. I think probably what I would say more than anything is that this league has gone from strength to strength. Every single draft, you find new people, new great personalities, and that was a real driver for us in what we did with picking Benji Matson, picking Jeff Garnier last night. Personality plays such a big part in our league now, as well as value, like Damon said.
Well, the clock has expired on Louisiana, and it looks like the pick is in. And we'll wait here for the commissioner to approach the mic and be ready to make that call. For those of you that are just starting to check this out tonight, this is the Season 15 draft for the Simulation Football League, and here he is, the commissioner, Cameron Irvine, with the pick.
With the 23rd pick in the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Louisiana Revolution select wide receiver Mike Twinscrew out of Minnesota. Lone Star, you're on the clock with the 24th pick.
So Mike Twinscrew, we do go offense right off the bat here tonight, guys. I kind of have a feeling it may be a running theme tonight to see some offensive players come off the board. Let's go to Robert Garrett Jr. Robert, what do you think about that pick?
Yeah, Mike Twinscrew is a great pick and really good complement to the receivers that Louisiana already have on their roster. He's going to be a guy that's already in there and ready to go, even coming in as a fresh rookie. And I think that's a really good fit for them.
Demond, give me your reaction. Demond, do you have some reaction to that pick? We may have lost Demond there. I'm not sure. We'll go and talk to Tim. Tim, you've seen most of these guys in the SFLM. Tell us a little bit about Mike Twinscrew.
Is one of the best wide receivers in the SFLM. You're right, Rich. I got the privilege of seeing every game in the minor league this year. Anybody could have done it. It's not really anything to pat myself on the back for, but including in the championship game, Twinscrew had a big second half after he was shut out in the first. top 10 in the league in both catches and receiving yards. Had a couple of really big games, and then especially over the last week or so, you've seen him try to add the value to himself for the auxiliary things, the stuff that he's done in the server, in the league, on the website, all this stuff, trying to build up his value outside of the playing field. But he's a really good deep threat wide receiver, runs the deep posts extremely well. It's kind of the patented Madison Lynx play. He was lining up as the Z receiver, I guess, on the right side of the offense with quarterback Derek Majors and running those deep slants to very high effectiveness over the balance of the season for Madison. So I was right with Liam on the beginning of this pick, Rich. I was expecting maybe this would be what kickstarted a wide receiver run after we saw none taken in the first round, 2 total offensive skill players all yesterday. So maybe this is what kickstarts a run on wide receivers for the rest of the league.
Liam, you still feeling that way going on a wide receiver run here maybe for a little bit?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at Mike Twinscrew. I think there's maybe a bit of debate as to who the best wide receiver option might be in this draft. Mike Twinscrew, great prospect. Play for the Lynx and championship winning team in the SFLM. But when you look at the options who are here, Mike Twinscrew is about 12th or 13th in terms of total value, and you have so many guys above him, guys and gals. You got like Beth Horrell, for example. There's so many options there, so you could be looking at, even by the end of this round, there's still wide receivers with massive value on the board who could be getting drafted. So it's going to be an exciting round, and I think it may have been something which, looking at last night, teams have reevaluated what they're doing, and they are now going for wide receivers as a result of that. So
all right, so right now Lone Star is on the clock.
Sound anymore?
The Lone Star Glory is on the clock. They picked up their quarterback last night with their first pick of the draft. The number 6 pick was Ace Fennick. So they have their quarterback, but they're looking at some other offensive needs plus a couple defensive side of the ball. They've got pretty balanced needs there. What they're looking for. Robert, where do you think they're going?
I mean, it's kind of hard to guess. I think they could definitely go running back here. There's still a lot of option there, though. But the other thing that stands out is a corner that they still need, and somebody to complement Gunny, their other corner that they already got, Mickey, would help set in stone their defense even more than they've already built around the Bash Bros, and really set their defense up to be something scary.
Absolutely. I started to say this a little bit ago. For those of you that are just joining in or are not aware of what's going on, this is the Season 15 Simulation Football League draft. The Simulation Football League is the world's first controllerless esport. Gives all the participants a chance to get involved without having to pick up a controller. A good chunk of the players on each team, most of them are represented by an actual person, and there's one of our owners right there, Charles Doherty, having a little adult beverage, we think.
That's chill. That's chill right there.
He looks confident. He looks confident. The co-owner of the Lone Star Glory, and I think he must have already made his decision, because
that's just grape juice, Rich.
Yeah, that's it. That's all it is. That's all it is.
There's no whining in the SFL.
The pick is in for the Lone Star Glory. They are set with their pick, and Charles looks very confident and very happy. So we'll turn it over to the commissioner, Cameron Irvine, and he will announce this pick for the Lone Star Glory.
Thank you, Rich. With the 24th pick of the SFL Season 15 Rookie Draft, the Lone Star Glory select free safety Thomas Smith, Detroit, Michigan. Tulsa, you're on the clock with the 25th selection.
So Lone Star gets that defensive player that you were talking about, Robert, possibly them going that direction. Thomas Smith, the free safety out of Detroit. Liam, reaction.
Hey, I love me a free safety in this league. You see some great guys, you got Jeffrey Daggs, who I remember bringing him in London, a young guy who comes in and makes such a big difference, whether it be on defense, whether it be in special teams. Lone Star clearly placing an emphasis on free safety in this pick, and that's a really good, sign for them. If they're gonna have a robust secondary in a league which is so focused on the pass game, that's a real good solid pick there for me.
Yeah, Thomas Smith had the second most interceptions tied for second most interceptions in SFLM with 3, tied with quite a few others. But big impact back there for Boise. Tim, talk about that player on the field.
Yeah, you got to see a little bit in that highlight package that they put together, which is awesome, by the way. He's got great range, one of my favorite free safeties in the minor league. There are loads of really good defensive players across the board, top to bottom, across all 3 levels. But Thomas Smith might have been my favorite free safety to watch for Boise. You got to see side-to-side potential, great tackler, good range, and you just alluded to it, Rich. He's good on the ball as well. Had a couple of interceptions, one of the league leaders in that category. And then what he's been doing off the field recently as well, he's been doing mock drafts for a month, it seems like. I absolutely love mock drafts. I've been following his from the beginning, so he's really busy, and I love the fact that he left himself off of his most recent one, his most recent player board, just to show that he wasn't trying to rank himself over his fellow, classmen, the other free safeties. So he's a humble guy and a really good player.
So a look in there at Deion Hawkins, the owner of the Tulsa Desperados, in his war room, getting ready to make his pick, and they are on the clock. The Tulsa Desperados, they've changed up their team just a little bit here in the recent past. Robert, Tim alluded to it a little bit. Talk about how important, as a general manager, how important off the field and character and involvement in the league and all that kind of stuff is, as far as who you're picking as a general manager or as an owner.
Involvement is a lot of the process. For some teams, and then other teams it differs, honestly. But I know for us, we've been looking at a lot of guys that may want to come in and help the team right off the bat, or maybe they don't know. But watching the chat, seeing how these guys interact with each other, wins, losses, things like that, it's huge as a general manager and owner.
Looks like he's making the call. We'll see. He's on his phone, so he may be making the call to that pick to make sure everybody's aware of what's going on before he makes the pick. Tomorrow night. No, I'm sorry, not tomorrow night. I think it's Friday night. Nope, tomorrow night. Sorry, guys. I'm getting all confused here. Tomorrow night, rounds 3 and 4 are happening here in the season 15 draft. So make sure you're back out here on YouTube tomorrow night for rounds 3 and 4 of the draft. So where do you think they're going, Liam? Where do we think Tulsa's going here with this pick?
I'm gonna have a look at their roster, because I think Tulsa have they made some big signings on offense. Pretty sure they picked up one Gabriel Manning back in free agency. So we're very well aware in London of what he can do. Great guy, very interesting offensive mind as well. He did a bit of offensive play calling with with Boise. Funnily enough, I'm sure Robert's very well aware of him since he was working with him. But they got one pick left, and I think that I think they could be looking at an offensive position here. Maybe they're looking at a fullback potentially. They've got the option as well, free safety. Getting a free safety in. Already given them some love tonight. So I think fullback or free safety would probably be the option here. Or maybe they'll surprise us all and go with the patented Andy Hamilton offensive lineman. That could be one as well. So
that's kind of where I was thinking. They went cornerback last night, Cameron Shaw. Excuse me, folks. They went cornerback last night, but it was talked about last night on the draft that they had a little bit of trouble with the quarterback sack last season. So put an offensive lineman in there. Tim, what do you think about that?
I would love to see it. I don't want to sound like Brian Craven too much from last night, but I'm a huge offensive line proponent as well. So if there are folks out there that are willing to play offensive line, and then secondarily teams that are willing to take the plunge and pick up offensive linemen, I think that could be a huge boost to a team at the next level. You saw it kind of hit or miss, I think, in the minor league this season. Every team had at least one star offensive lineman, and generally they made a bigger impact than not, meaning a more of a positive impact than a negative impact. So if there's a team out there that wants to take an offensive lineman, I would love to see it. I would full on support it. And yeah, I definitely think that that's an option that Tulsa could go for.
All right, Robert, one more, a little bit more observation from you. Their clock is running out. So before they make their pick, give me your last minute observation about Tulsa.
I mean, I think they have to go fullback here. I mean, not only can it block on the run, but if they want to, they can do split backs, keep them in the backfield and block for that quarterback. Deacon Nickens has got to get more protection. So fullback or, again, offensive line.
Yeah, and there are some fullbacks that played in the SFLM. There's a few of them on the board and available. So we could be seeing a fullback, could be seeing offensive line. Demond, I think you're back with us. Are you back with us? Have we figured out those technical difficulties?
Yes, I am back with you guys.
Good.
I don't know what happened.
Right.
For some odd reason, I got kicked out of I didn't kicked out, just Discord issue. But hey, it doesn't matter. I'm back. So I agree with the panel that Tulsa may be going fullback here. This is a position that they may need, or maybe looking into to open some holes for Sonzo Robinson, or who knows, they may go O-line, but I think those two positions are key, but they do need to fill that free safety spot also. That's probably their most need right now. I think I would fill the free safety spot before I go fullback or O-line.
All right, their time is out. We're just waiting for the announcement from the commissioner. Again, don't forget, tomorrow night, rounds 3 and 4, and then we take a break, and Friday and Saturday we will finish up the season 15 draft with rounds 5, 6, and 7. Finishing out Saturday, June 27th with rounds 6 and 7. But the pick is in. Tulsa has made their selection, and we will check in with the commissioner, Cameron Irvine, for that pick.
With the 25th pick in the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Tulsa Desperados select wide receiver DJ Hume, Kansas City, Missouri. Denver, you're on the clock with the 26th pick.
So Tulsa goes wide receiver. Nobody saw that coming on this panel tonight. DJ Hume comes off of the board. Demond, haven't heard from you much in the last little bit. Let's go to you and hear your thoughts on that pick.
This is an absolute shocker for me. I thought he was going to go free safety out there. But hey, they went with the weapon. The more weapons you have on your offense side of the ball means the more points that you have, the better chance you have of putting up points. And this is what this team needs. This team needs playmakers. As we saw, they brought in Gabriel Manning, one of the most prolific and high-flying wide receivers in the league, and they tag team him now with J.D. Him. They also have Corey Jones as well on that offensive side. Looks like Tulsa's trying to make some moves here to become a powerhouse on the offensive side of the field.
It does sound like it. They've got Deacon Nickens back there that can sling the ball around. He likes to throw the ball around, so give him some weapons to throw to. Liam, let's hear from you next.
Yeah, very interesting pick. I think I think the view would probably be shared by Demond and Robert that you don't normally see teams in the SFL opt to not go with a player at a specific key skill position. I'd probably say that free safety is one of them. So this is really quite surprising. But then again, you've got the three wide receivers, and clearly Dion is wanting to amp up that pass game to account for maybe a little bit of weakness on the pass D. So yeah, it's a good pick regardless. And he probably there's this thing in his mind maybe that with what happened in the last round, with wide receivers not going off the board. If you're going to get a wide receiver, then you might as well do it. And the other thing, last thing I point out here is that DJ Hume is quite diminutive. He's a 5'10" receiver. And generally what you find in the SFL is team owners and head coaches like to have a taller player. And one of the highest values on the board, CJ Arthur, he is a few inches shorter than that. So you're taking into account physical attributes as well as the intangibles, and it's an interesting pick by Tulsa. An interesting pick for sure, but a good one.
So we're looking at Jeremy Vega, the owner of the Denver Nightwings, getting ready to make his pick. Robert Garrett Jr., we'll go to you next. It looks like Denver's fairly well set on the offensive side of the ball. They've got a couple needs there at fullback and offensive line, but defensive end, defensive tackle, looks like they may need to shore up that offense or that defensive front.
Yeah, they definitely have some needs still there at defensive end and defensive tackle, but they also have one more pick later on in this round. I know Jeremy for a while was very high on offensive line. So I think it's possible they could go offensive line here and shore up that line and make it stronger.
So Kramer Jackman there, the general manager of the Denver Nightwings, having some communication with somebody. I would assume it's Jeremy Vega. They're talking over their pick, or maybe he's talking to the potential draftee. Don't know. But everybody's heard Kramer talk, so. So Damon, where do you see Denver going at this point?
Denver, probably going to beef up this defensive line. I'm looking at DN or D tackle right here. Get in the middle of that defense, so forth. As if you can remember, season 13, Denver had one of the best defenses in this league, and it was all from Bailey Baca pushing up in the middle of the field there, getting up and getting on the passer and so forth. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go D-line here. Fullback, O-line, I mean, those guys would be, still in the later rounds or so forth. But the defensive line is where they're going to need to target right now.
Yeah, I agree. I do remember, Denver lost a little bit on that defensive front from season 13 to season 14, and it did hurt them a little bit. Tim Hackett, give me your thoughts on this pick.
Oh, I'm kind of with Robert. I mean, it's my understanding from talking with people around the league that Jeremy is one of the guys that likes offensive linemen. He's been targeting having an O lineman at some point in the draft, so maybe that's here. If he feels that the value or that it would be better worth his time to wait and take an offensive lineman later, maybe we see that in a later round. But if that's not the pick, that I'm with Damon. I think that the best course of action would be to work on the defensive line. There are loads of players available, especially on the interior. A lot of people that know how to create pressure from the defensive tackle spot. I wouldn't be surprised if we see somebody like that, somebody like an Igor Barbatov or Tina Begin, somebody like that out of the defensive tackle spot. I mean, they took Rosca Santagria, the cornerback, last round, which was a little bit of a surprise, I guess, as that's kind of a position of surplus rather than a position of need for Denver right now. But they've been built on great defense in the past, like you guys have mentioned, especially top secondary. So if they want to, a top secondary, I should say, so shoring that position up doesn't hurt, especially if you get a guy like the stat man, how dominant he was in the minor league. You can't hate the pick. So I think they either go on the offensive line or the defensive line here.
All right, those of you that are just joining us or not sure what in the heck's going on, this is the Season 15 Simulation Football League Rookie Draft. We are getting ready for Season 15, which kicks off July 17th, Friday night, July 17th. That is going to be Baltimore and Atlanta. The Atlanta Swarm, the defending champions, going up against the Baltimore Raven, or not the Baltimore Ravens. Going up against Baltimore and looking to see if they can continue on with those championship ways. They did lose a quarterback in the offseason, but they'll fill that need here in the draft, and they'll be just fine. So, again, July 17th, we kick off season 15 of the Simulation Football League, and this should be a great season, guys. Robert Garrett Jr., let's go back to you with some last second thoughts on this. Oh, wait, no, pick is in. We won't do that. Pick is in. The Denver Night Wings have made their pick, so we will throw this over to the commissioner, Cameron Irvine, for the announcement.
With the 26th pick in the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Denver Night Wings select. We'll tell you in 30 seconds.
Whoa.
The commish with the teaser.
A teaser.
That's right. That's right. With the pick, we'll be right back. So,
I mean, he's lucky we're not at the Radio City Music Hall. I mean, they'd be booing him like crazy.
Man, yes, yeah. We can't hear the boos across the chat. You know, you've got Doug Day and Zach Lay and Camp Commandant in there, Siege Falco. You know the boos are coming.
I would boo him from across the channel if it was me.
All right, we'll go right back to the commissioner, Cameron Irvine.
Oh, Damon, that was funny. That was funny. With the 26th pick in the SFL Season 15 rookie draft, the Denver Night Wings finally select offensive lineman Jean Benazzi, Paris, France. Florida, you're on the clock with the 27th pick, and his brother, Igor Barbatov, is on with us tonight.
So Jean Benazzi from France becomes Denver's offensive lineman pick here in the draft, and one of you guys said it. And there's I think that's Igor Barbatov is Jean's brother. I think that's who we're looking at there. But which one of you guys said that Jeremy likes offensive linemen, and that could be the way we go?
It was me.
All right, talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, Jeremy had brought it up quite often, talking about offensive line and things like that, and taking part in discussions. And Gene was a great choice for him there. Came in kind of late to the SFLM season in Boise, but he got in the locker room and immediately messaged me and was like, "Hey, I'm ready. What do I need to do?" And was just ready to do whatever he needed to get going and get his season started. So a great guy that Denver just got, and happy to see him get drafted there.
So the Florida Storm are on the clock, the 27th pick. Tim, talk about Jean Benazzi and what you saw on the field from him.
I didn't get to see him very much, Rich, because as Robert said, he kind of joined the minor league a little bit later, but there was always openings for offensive linemen, and especially for Robert with the Boise Mud Dogs. I'm sure that he was very welcome. So he was a center by trade in the minor league. There were only a handful of those across the league. I don't know if that's where he's going to play in the major leagues, but as we mentioned, this is a position, an area of focus for Jeremy Vega in Denver and a couple of other people around the league. So if this is a position that he thought that would be worth targeting, this is as good a guy to get as any. He's clearly very dedicated. What Robert said, I think, speaks volumes that if he was that dedicated from the jump, it doesn't matter. They only played in 3 or 4 regular season games before their semifinal game. It shows that he was willing to learn, to figure out what life is like in the league, and then apply that to the next level. So, and on top of that, he was a fine center as well. And there were, I think, maybe 4 centers in the league when all was said and done. So there's plenty of options out there, and they got a good one.
So offensive linemen, guys, for those of you that haven't been in the league for a real long time, offensive lineman's a new position for the Simulation Football League. It's a rather recent addition to our roster of players. Liam, as an owner, talk about that and what your viewpoint is on those offensive linemen being stars.
Yeah, I'm probably for me. I don't necessarily see the value out of the offensive line position. Obviously, there are owners who feel differently. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to have value on an offensive lineman, to have a star player as an offensive lineman. The way that the sort of mechanics of the league work, for me personally, I see value elsewhere. In terms of Denver's specific situation, I think this pretty much ensures that I think their last pick will probably be another offensive lineman. But that is really going to be a circumstance thing when we get to that point in the draft, because there are other teams who we know have a definitive interest in getting an offensive lineman, such as Vancouver, and there are a few other teams in there as well. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Denver actually do get the opportunity to go for another offensive lineman, if they have to go for an alternative. For me, I think though the pick here sort of shows that teams are more willing to split out their value on both sides of the line rather than just focus on a specific area. For me, defensive line would still be the priority, but it's one of those things which makes the SFL what it is. There's a different sort of sort of meta game in terms of how we build our teams and what sort of players we get in and the types of personalities that we develop. So it's going to be interesting to see how this position evolves and whether or not we see a definitive shift towards the O-line. But we'll see what happens.
All right, so the Florida Storm, 3-time champions, with a little shift at the coordinator spot, I believe. I think Mighty's taken back over the offensive coordinator duties for Florida this season, so we may see a return to the old. Damon, give me your thoughts on this pick for Florida. Did we lose Demond again?
Demon's muted.
Yep, I think we lost Demond again.
Oh, so sorry, Robert, I was muted. Sorry,
there
I was
we go.
muted.
That's all right.
Yeah, my apologies. My apologies. I just like to be polite to the panel and not be unmuted. Got one. But I was going to say that I've been incorrect so far on all of my predictions, but I'm going to say that Mighty's going to go defense here and go cornerback. But who knows? Let's not forget that Mr. Max Paul is a big fan of the fullback position. We all saw what he did a couple of years ago with Jason Williams and turned him into Thrilliams, was the nickname that his fans gave him and so forth out there in Alaska, now in Florida. But don't be surprised if he goes fullback, but I'm predicting cornerback here.
Yeah, I think it was last season during the draft show, Damon. Everybody was wrong the whole time. I mean, I don't think we picked, but maybe 2 correct. So I don't think this hurts your reputation at all. Robert, we'll go to you next and see what your thoughts are on this Florida pick.
Sorry, everyone not as good as Eddie Gage.
That's right. That's right.
I think the big thing that we're not quite talking about is the EJ Minson move from tight end to wide receiver. So Florida's looking at a big opening there at tight end. They could get a big target in there for them to throw to and move down the field.
Yeah, there's still some big value there at tight end, still on the board for these guys to pick from. So that is possible. Tim, what do you see?
I think I'm with Damon. I mean, it's kind of my understanding the 2 big needs for Florida this offseason, cornerback and linebacker. So last round they took out need number 1. They took Eric Hammer, the linebackers. So to me, cornerback is still an opening, still something that needs to be filled. So this seems like as good a time as any to do it, and there are plenty of good ones still available.
Absolutely. Coming up on the end of their time here, the pick is in for the Florida Storm. So we'll come over and check in with the commissioner, Cameron Irvine, with the 27th pick.
With the 27th pick in the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Florida Storm select linebacker Roland Parrott, Chattanooga, Tennessee, and member of the Albuquerque Adams in the SFLM. 28th pick goes to Vegas.
So Vegas is on the clock, and Florida goes linebacker. You guys kind of picked it there with the linebacker spot. Let's get your reaction to that, Liam.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. My cat is bothering me. You're probably going to hear some meowing because he hasn't been fed. Linebacker. Mighty is one of the best defensive coaches in the league. So as far as I'm concerned, if he needs a linebacker, he needs one. So, but it'd be interesting to see the alignment. Different teams have different priorities in terms of the way that they actually line their linebackers up. So whether or not he's sat out on the outside or the inside, linebacker's a crucial position for me. We've had some great linebackers in London Lights of Slim Shady. We drafted Jeff Garnier last night. DeAndre Washington, less said about him, the better. Sorry, DeAndre, I gotta put that out there. No, a great guy, great player. It's a crucial position, and as far as I'm concerned, if Marty's drafted a guy, he's got to be pretty good. So.
All right, let's check in Tim. Tim, tell me about what you saw with Roland Parrott on the field.
I confess, guys, I don't know exactly how everybody's going to line up for Florida. I don't know what the rest of the personnel looks like, what the tactics are going to look like. But if they're trying to build an all-star linebacker core just based on performance in the SFLM, they have a really good start with these two first picks from the linebacker perspective. You start in the middle with Eric Hammer last night, one of the best middle linebackers in the minor league. And then you augment him with Roland Parrott, who dominated on the outside, really good edge rusher, can tackle along the line of scrimmage. He's good at kind of all levels. He can cover and he can pursue from the linebacker position as well. Then you balance that with Eric Hammer, who just simply put was one of the best middle linebackers in the minor league, in a league full of great middle linebackers, I must say. That's a really, really good one, too. I still think there's an opening at corner. Florida wants to hit that later on in the draft. But as far as linebackers go, I would imagine they are pretty much set.
All right. Well, again, Las Vegas is on the clock. For those of you that are just starting to check this out, wondering what in the world's going on, this is the Simulation Football League Season 15 draft, the first controllerless esport. If you want to get involved or figure out more about the league, go over to simulation.football or simulationfl.net. Check out the website. Go to our Discord. There's going to be links to our Discord on both of those websites. So check it out, get on Discord, introduce yourself and get involved. You could be involved in this draft next season for season 16. You can get involved in the minor leagues and be involved in the second season of the SFLM. We just had our inaugural SFLM season. So make sure you get out there, get involved, and make an impact. Let's check in for Las Vegas. Demond, where do you see Vegas going next? What do they need? It looks like they need quite a bit.
Running back.
Running back.
I most definitely feel that this is the time you go for your running back. You can't wait to the third round to go running back here for Vegas. They lost Robert Redford, who went on elsewhere and so forth. So you gotta address this position here because you never know who may be coming. I'm gonna tell you what a car salesman told me one time before. The car you looked at today, someone saw yesterday that you're thinking about not getting today, they're going to come back and get it later today. So this is the time for Las Vegas to go ahead and address this running back position because the running back that they looked at or talked for 7 weeks so far now may not be on the board come the next pick.
So does the pick lose half its value and you drive it off the lot? No, that's a car thing. Sorry. Let's go to Robert Garrett Jr. Yeah, that's right. Robert Garrett Jr.
There's definitely a huge gap at running back for Vegas, but I could also see them going defensive line here. Lost some key parts of that defensive line at the end of the season. And so, Slim Shady looking to strengthen up things as he came in. And I think it could be D-line right here.
Defensive line. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, again, we went big defense last night. They went kicker. Las Vegas went kicker in the first round with Otis Bordeaux. Liam, what's your thoughts?
Don't overthink it, Matthew. You know you're going to draft Fox Highwind. Just do it. That's all I can say. I was gonna put on with the 28th pick of the season 15 SFL draft, and now Cam's gonna fire me for trying to imitate his accent.
Love it.
I go with the running back. Dimon's absolutely right. Don't overthink it. Just pick the guy. I think Las Vegas are probably thinking like, how has this guy not been drafted yet? Because I know that they were keen on him anyway. There's this ongoing debate, discussion, whatever, argument in the owners' chat and amongst coaches in the league about running backs and the optimal running back type. I'm finesse back all the way. We got We've always had great running backs in London, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of finesse type. So that for me is just where you would want to go. So thanks, Andy Hamilton. I did try my best with the accent, but I'm expecting that I'm going to be roundly insulted now when Cam comes on the call.
So Tim, okay, so let's assume. I know it's terrible to assume. Let's assume we're going running back here. Talk about the top couple running backs that are available in Fox Highwind. Connor Weston's up there still. They haven't no running back has been selected yet, so everybody's still on the board. Who are you looking at as the top couple running backs that are an option here?
I think you hit it already. I think those are the top two for sure. And as Liam mentioned, I know Las Vegas, I think everybody and their brother had predicted that they were targeting Fox Highwood even in the first draft. So the fact that he and Connor Weston and frankly the rest of the running back class are all still available here, they have to be thrilled.
Yeah, and Tom Rahman said it in the chat over there that they did pick a kicker, but it's a kicker with benefits. He brings some other things to the table for those guys that and we talked about that. It's not just necessarily what that player does on the field. It's what does he contribute altogether to the team. But Las Vegas's pick is in. The indecision is over. They've made their choice. Let's check in with Cameron Irvine.
Well, Liam, I didn't even realize you were impersonating me. It was so bad, so you're not fired. With the 28th pick of the SFL Season 15 rookie draft, the Las Vegas Furies select the first running back of the draft, Scott Johnson, Columbia, Maryland. Mexico City, you're on the clock with the 29th pick, and he's from Annapolis, by the way.
So Scott Johnson comes off the board as the first running back picked, and Liam, that's not where you were going, man.
Well, I got the position right. So that's probably. Let me put it this way: I was only expecting to get one pick right tonight, and that was mine. So they got a running back, which is you need a running back to be successful in this league. We tried it one season in London, and poor Nathan Lee. That's all I can really say about that. So a good pick, Scott Johnson. He's got a team there in Las Vegas which are going to support him. Congratulations to him.
So Tim, tell us about Scott Johnson.
Well, I mean, honestly, Rich, this is a stunning pick because everybody and their brother had predicted that Fox Highwind would be the guy here. But Scott Johnson, for my money and for a lot of other people's money that I've been talking to over the course of the minor league season, they had Scott Johnson as the best running back, the best in terms of production on the field. Between myself and Robert, I think we saw the two best individual running back performances in the minor league, maybe two of the top three, and those two were both by Scott Johnson. 1 week against Lincoln in week 3, and then against San Jose in week 7, I believe. So we saw Scott Johnson absolutely go off in 2 weeks, and then he was one of the biggest reasons that Annapolis made it to the playoffs when the rest of the team was kind of struggling over the middle portion of the season. So he's very capable of breaking off massive runs. He's one of the most elusive running backs. He's very adept at doing a lot of different things. He can run between the tackles, off tackle, and also catch passes. I don't know if there's another running back in the class that can say all three to this to the level of success that Scott Johnson could say that he performed all three of those phases in. So maybe there are some better downhill runners. Maybe there are some better outside runners. Maybe there are some better pass catchers individually at the position, but he might be the best at all three overall. So for those reasons, I think it's a fantastic pick.
So Scott Johnson, number 2 in rushing yards total in SFLM, but he had the highest yards per carry in SFLM this season. And I think that's used by over a yard, as a matter of fact. Robert Garrett Jr., give me your reaction to this pick.
It was a great pickup. Scott Johnson played really well when the Navigators used him, really complemented the passing game that they were looking for perfectly. And I think he's going to fit really well.
All right, so now we shift to Mexico City. The Aztecs are on the clock. The magic screen over on the side shows they're in need of a linebacker and a punter, but that has not necessarily held true as to where these teams have gone. So, Demond, give me your thoughts on Mexico City.
Linebacker. Well, why not running back as well? We know that Mexico City needs to address that position at halfback. And there's a halfback still on the board that played for the championship team that everyone loves, and her family as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go with the Harrell over there from was it Madisonville?
Madison, yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if she comes off the board. I can't remember the first name, but
Laura.
I know the last name is Harrell. Laura
Harrell. Yes, yeah. I didn't think they had addressed the halfback issue yet in Mexico City since the change in staffing over there. But
I don't. If they did it may have slipped by me. You know, I'm like Bucky Brooks of NFL Network. You know, nothing gets by me. And I didn't see them address that. And in the first round, they took a defensive tackle. So
yes, they did. They did address that defensive tackle spot with Andre Krim with the 11th pick yesterday. But Liam, give me your thoughts.
I think that I think it's been pointed out by Andy Hamilton. Props to him.
Yeah.
You know, the reality is that Ray Bentley is a contracted player at the current point in time. So for Mexico City, even if they wanted to, drafting a running back is not really an option. So really, you got to go for a linebacker here. I'm not going to embarrass myself by naming any names like I did last time, but again, you've got someone in Ramos who is one of the top coaches in the league. I remember back when I originally joined that great final championship between final championship. What am I doing? I'm getting my soccer and football mixed up, but yeah, we're nearly 1 a.m. in the morning, folks. So, another great coach in this league. Ramos knows how to make the defense work. He's gonna draft a linebacker, I think, here, and really build up that Mexico City defense to a championship level.
Yeah, that's why I love this community, guys. If we mess up, they're going to catch us in the chat. I'm going to tell you that right now. Andy Hamilton and Harish Prasad and Ramos is in there. All these guys, they're going to catch us if we mess up and make a mistake. And Andy did point that out, that they still have Ray Bentley on as a contracted player on the team. So,
that is correct. But after week 2, he can be dropped.
Right.
You know. So let's not forget about that, Mr. Hamilton, that he can be dropped after week 2. And I wouldn't be surprised if they just decide to go ahead and just take this player so that they can have that player in their back pocket for when they get ready to release Bentley after week 2. I'm just shaking things up here.
Controversial opinion, maybe. What says Mexico City have to drop Ray? You can just keep him.
You're right.
Yeah,
they probably could take Harrell and turn her into a fullback. You know, you're right. Who's to say they have to release Ray? You know, they really don't have to release Ray. They can keep both of them. Why not do that? Hey, 2 is better than 1, right?
Tim, what do you see? What you've seen these guys who, as far as linebacker or running back, who are you looking at? We talked a lot about the running backs. Talk a little bit about the linebacker side over there. What's available?
I guess it depends on what type of linebacker that Ramos and company are looking at, because I know for a fact that Ramos got a front row seat, well, maybe a skybox seat for a couple of San Jose flight games this minor league season. So one of the highest value backers still available is Devin King, who I thought was one of the best pass rushing linebackers in the minor league. So if they want an outside back who knows how to wreak havoc in the backfield, then that might be a good place for them to go.
All right, the clock has run out and the pick is in. Mexico City has made their selection, so we'll find out who's wrong. And we'll turn it over to Cameron Irvine.
Why do you put me in that position, Rich? Don't make me that guy.
Get used to it.
With the 29th pick in the season 15 SFL rookie draft, the Mexico City Aztecs select Lincoln linebacker KT Horrell, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. St. Louis, you're on the clock with pick number 30.
All right, Damon, you were half right. You got a Horrell in there, but it's KT Horrell, the linebacker. So let's go to Robert Garrett Jr.
They were going to address. I did say they're going to address the linebacker spot.
That's true. That's true. Let's go to Robert Garrett Jr. for your reaction.
Yeah, KT is a great grab for Mexico City. The whole Horrell family is a whole lot of fun and good to be around. We got one ourselves last night, and she's going to be a staple for Mexico City in the long run. And on top of that, she does stats and things outside of being a player that are incredibly valuable to some teams.
So yeah, talking about Horrells, there are how many? 57 of them in the league now, I think, or something like that. Tim, talk about KT and how she performed up there on the field.
I wish I looked a little bit further down my board past David King to KT Horrell because, to be honest with you guys, she was one of my favorite overall linebackers in the league from the outside linebacker spot. I think David King, like I mentioned, might be the best pass rusher. I think Gary Marks was the best tackler that I saw, but KT Horrell, for my money, was the best overall outside linebacker in the minor league. She does everything really well. Great tackler, really good hands. She had 1 or 2 picks, a bunch of pass deflections, good tackle for loss numbers as well. So she's somebody who does a little bit of everything on the field, which is just perfectly reflective of, as Robert mentioned, what she and David both do off the field. They're both awesome. They both help Mike and Proda and I a whole lot over the course of the minor league season doing stats for our broadcast. They're both great. Got to represent the North Carolinians in this league. There are quite a few of them, so I'll always support them, and I'm really excited for her. I think some of us were holding out hope that she and David would end up on the same team for their first stop in the major leagues, but clearly Mexico City saw something in her that they really liked, and I'm not surprised.
All right, so St. Louis is on the clock. They've got quite a few areas to address, but they've got one glaring area in quarterback. They lost Pickler over the offseason to Louisiana. Liam, where do you think they're going to go?
Praying for my quarterback, Rich. I expressed my dissatisfaction maybe with Dwayne and Colin last night, which is bad of me, really. But you got so much value on the defense. You have to go offense here.
Yeah.
You have to at least put in place the pieces. Dynasty is still on the board. Dynasty has shown so much potential as a quarterback in this league. If you do not draft him, I don't know what to say. I really don't. He's a great guy. I think we're blessed to have a really dedicated guy in Angus McLean. But looking at some of these quarterbacks, they're really committed. They've engaged with the league a lot. These are the guys who are going to be the face of your franchise. And with the situation with Pickler, it's up to St. Louis now to get a guy who's going to be a committed guy for seasons down the line. And I think Dynasty would do that. But if not a quarterback, get a guy on the offense. That's really all I can say here.
Yeah, they've got a lot of offensive positions open that they need to fill. Demond, I had a chance to talk a little bit with Colin Northrup last night, co-owner of the St. Louis Gladiators, and we talked a little bit about this pick. But where, talking about quarterbacks, we'll just assume maybe that they're going in this direction. I know he wants to, when he does address that quarterback spot, he wants to find somebody that's going to be a long-term quarterback. They've lost a few right after their first season and in St. Louis. So, looking at who's available, what are your thoughts on that one?
I would most definitely go with Dynasty here with this pick. Solid quarterback. As you stated, it's hard to get someone to want to stick around. A lot of players like to jump gun and go winning team and so forth. In the SFL, the teams that make the playoff, the teams that make the championships and so forth. That's what a lot of players like to. But I'll tell you, if you get a guy stick with your squad and groom that individual to be there for a long time. And if I'm pretty sure that St. Louis has spoken with quite a few quarterbacks over the weeks or so for lining up to the draft, and I'm pretty sure they've informed them, hey, we need someone that's going to stick around here for the long haul. We've lost too many quarterbacks after one season or so. They got to go with this pick here with Dynasty because let's not forget, Atlanta needs a quarterback, and I'm pretty sure they're going to want to address this issue as well and might be looking to take Dynasty if St. Louis doesn't take him right here with this pick.
Yeah, St. Louis made some big strides this season getting into the playoffs and really improving their squad, trying to build something going forward. Robert Garrett Jr., talk about that and your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, it's honestly kind of hard to guess what they're going to do. There's obviously the big hole in quarterback spot, but you've got so much range on what you can pick up right now. Pretty much, I mean, needing a whole offense, you got to find something. You could also possibly see Fox Highwind go here, the top overall value in a running back, and they could build their offense around that if they wanted to, rather than quarterback.
All right, guys. So the pick is in with St. Louis, and now we will end the discussion on that one and take it over to Cameron Irvine and find out where St. Louis goes with this pick.
With the 30th pick in the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the St. Louis Gladiators select from the Albuquerque Adams, wide receiver Eagle Mondavi, Burlington, Vermont. Jacksonville is on the clock with the 31st pick.
Wow. I was going to mention that right before I saw that the pick was in, guys. There was a mock draft that dropped today right before we went on the air. And this was their pick for St. Louis, was Eagle Mondavi. And we see him here with a little bit of action in the Simulation Football League minor leagues right here. Tim, talk about Eagle Mondavi and what he brings to the Gladiators.
Yeah, well, let's focus on the player first. He's a great wide receiver one type option. He was that all season for Albuquerque. He and Michael Potter might have been the best 1-2 wide receiver punch in the minor league. He usually lined up as the X receiver on the left side of the offense. He's great at stretching the field. He can catch just about everything in the route tree, if you will. He's a great wide receiver, and as we mentioned, St. Louis knew that they were going to have to build their entire offense pretty much from scratch because of all the departures and misses that they've had over the last few years. So if they thought that wide receiver was one of the biggest keys for them to attack, then this is as good of a player as any. He's got high value. He's towards the top of a lot of wide receiver draft boards, if you will. And as you mentioned, picked mocked right here a couple of times. So a high second round type of projection comes to fruition. So he's a great wide receiver. Could immediately slot in as a wide receiver too on a major league team, in my opinion. But I mean, I'm kind of with the rest of the guys that I thought that the quarterback and running back spot were more pressing needs. But if the folks in St. Louis thought that they really needed another top wide receiver to help whoever their quarterback is going to be at this point, they got a good one.
Now, they have one more pick yet tonight later on in this round. So they could go quarterback there. But as I'm looking down the list, guys, I think Atlanta picks first. So let's go over to Liam and talk about that quarterback spot. Liam, let's take for granted maybe. We'll say Atlanta takes Dynasty. Where are you going next for St. Louis?
So just to be clear, Gerald Winkler is a good player, and he's a great pick in the first round.
Yeah.
And Eagle Mondavi is a great player. Eagle Mondavi is going to be an excellent wide receiver in the SFL. The players that St. Louis pick are not the problems. The problem is the priority of, do you take a free safety when you have so many pressing needs on the offense? And you're sitting in this pick and you have one of the best quarterback prospects, knowing that Atlanta are breathing down your neck, and you go and take the wide receiver. Eagle Mondavi is going to be a great player in this league, but I don't get it. You just take the guy, and don't chance it. A franchise QB is so important. You need a guy who's gonna be there down the line. Maybe I can't help but feeling it is a bit of feeling burnt after everything that's happened with Pickler. I don't hate the pick, but I mean, I'm as big a St. Louis fan as anybody. I know those guys so closely. I hope it works out for them. That's really the thing for me. I really do hope it works out for them because those guys are like brothers to me. We'll see what happens. There's going to be a quarterback prospect. I think that they're probably looking at the class saying there's very few options for quarterbacks. But the thing that people have to remember now is we're getting into the stage of the draft where secondary builds come into play. And that could change the entire complexion of what we see in the quarterback class. So, that's yeah. I've got nothing more.
Well, let's throw it over to Damon. Damon, let's shift and talk a little bit about Jacksonville. The Kings are on the clock. We've got about a minute and a half left before their pick is up and due. What do you think Jacksonville is thinking here?
Safety. We all know that Jacksonville love the safety, but they love to go with that 6 secondary front or whatever. I mean, secondary. They're just like a lot of DBs back there. They have them all flying all across the place, and they're a team that loves D linemen as well. If I'm not mistaken, I think they did lose a defensive lineman to retirement this past offseason or so, if I'm correct. And then that's an issue that may need to be addressed as well. And let's not forget that Frank Gooden loves those fullbacks also. He needs someone to be back there blocking for Mr. Willis. So that could be a position that he may like to draft right here. But I'm going safety though, secondary.
They went secondary in the first round too with a cornerback, Robert Garrett Jr. Do you agree with Damon?
I agree that they're going to go defense, but I think they're going to go linebacker here. The high valued linebackers are starting to thin very quickly, and they're going to end up running out of options. The faster they can get that guy, the better.
All right, the season 15 draft continues, and the Jacksonville pick is in. Let's check in with the commissioner, Cameron Irvine, and get Jacksonville's second round pick.
With the 31st pick in the season 15 SFL rookie draft, the Jacksonville Kings select from the Boise Mud Dogs linebacker Clay Jones, Elgin, Illinois. Vancouver's on the clock with the 32nd selection.
All right, Clay Jones, the linebacker, goes to Jacksonville, and they do go back to the defense. They just don't go secondary. We'll go right back to you, Robert. Talk to me about this pick.
I love the pick. Clay Jones is a great guy. Part of the Boise locker room, was really a staple to my linebackers that helped keep them together. Played that middle linebacker slot, and really just did whatever I needed the player to do, whether it was blitz or pass, defend passes, and anything. Just all over the field, and a great guy altogether.
Tim Hackett, talk about Clay Jones.
Yeah, from a distance, I mean, I didn't know him day in and day out like Robert did, but I loved the Boise linebacker trio. I think I mentioned this to Robert a time or two during the season. All three of their guys I thought were fantastic, and Clay Jones was the anchor of that in the middle, with Gary Marks on the outside with Digger Graves as well. But with Jones in the middle, I thought he was one of the best middle linebackers in the minor leagues. Really good coverage. His pursuit of the ball is fantastic. Good coverage as well. He's just a magnet for the ball. Pass deflections, I think he had at least one in every game, if memory serves, at least on average, on aggregate over the course of the season. So a middle linebacker who can do a little bit of everything. And I thought this was a need for them. Defensively, I thought this was an opening for Jacksonville. I thought that was a place that they could go. So they get a cornerback in Rain Aurier, who's got real good coverage skills. And now they've got their linebacker in Clay Jones, who can do a little bit of everything. So whether they slot him in the middle or the outside, I guess is yet to be seen. But again, one of my favorite middle linebackers in the minor leagues. And it's not a surprise to me that he found a home in the second round.
The Vancouver Legion are on the clock, and we see a live look into the Vancouver War Room. Andy Hamilton looking like he may be making a call to his second round pick. Never know what you're going to see when you look in on Andy Hamilton. So be prepared for anything. Let's go to let's go to Liam Crowder and talk about the Vancouver pick here, Liam.
The business end here with what's going on for us at the moment. So I'm shout out to Andy. He does a great job with so much in this league. It looks like he's about ready to. He must have already made his pick, I'm sure, because he looks like he's on the phone with his guy. I'm interested to see who exactly Vancouver goes with here. Maybe a tight end. They have they did pick up a tight end in free agency, I believe, in Dan Daly. But two tight ends is an interesting thing to go with. It gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of what you do with play calling, and you got a secondary guy who you can go to if you pick up an injury. So for me, a tight end could go with a fullback. Fullback, the most criminally underrated position in the league, for me at least. Famed Max Paul obviously is a huge advocate of fullbacks, so it's going to be interesting to see where exactly they go. And still, we've got Andy's favoured offensive lineman as well. That's another alternative he could go through. Vancouver in really good position here. It's going to be interesting to see what exactly they go with.
So, Damon, we'll check in with you. They went defensive end in round 1. They addressed the departure of Pseudo Nakai by bringing Robert Redford over. Where do you think Vancouver's going at this point?
I'm thinking they're probably going to address the O-line spot. As we noticed, they had 2 bookends on that offensive line last season, playing both right and left tackle. So they were the team that has basically set the foundation for O-linemen being drafted in the SFL. And we saw Vancouver go back-to-back rounds with the offensive lineman last season. Now here, this may be the point where they start addressing that offensive line spot for them this season.
All right, this is the Simulation Football League Season 15 draft. We once again look in on Andy Hamilton and his war room there. Vancouver getting ready to make their, and it looks like he's made his pick and he's happy with it. So we'll see what that is here in just a minute. Don't forget, Season 15 kicks off July 17th, Friday night, July 17th, Baltimore and Atlanta. Atlanta's got a pick coming up here in just a minute. They're next. So stick around for that. There's a little drama going on with that that Atlanta pick, trying to replace a few players and keep that championship drive going. Robert Garrett Jr. will come to you. One last person before we go to the pick. What do you think about Vancouver?
I think Vancouver's going offensive line here if they go for a blocker. Andy's been one of the very strong supporting offensive line people, especially in the conversations fullback versus offensive line. He's very set on the O lineman. I think he goes here after losing the offensive lineman that he had last season, get a replacement there and keep power on that line.
So we got quite a few votes for offensive line. There's only about 4 offensive linemen left on the draft board that haven't already been picked. So we'll see where Vancouver goes, and there's a lot of picks left to go. Although people change positions, we know that. But we'll see where Vancouver goes here in just a minute. One last little thought from Tim Hackett before we get the pick. Tim.
Well, I was grateful to Andy Hamilton for giving me some insight into how the draft process works. He sat down with Mike and Proto and myself for about 2 hours last week to try to let us know how some things work. So I appreciated his insight, and he said, I don't think he would mind me saying that he was here. It was testing the market for both defensive line and offensive line. So last night they got their defensive lineman in Michael Percoco, an edge rusher. And so I'm with the rest of the guys. I think that if Andy's, true to his word, and I don't have any reason to believe that he wouldn't be, if he thinks an offensive lineman is the move here, as they say, then he's going to go for it. Now, I think it depends on what type of offensive lineman he's looking for. What Damon says, I'll go with what Damon says. If he was working with a couple of offensive tackles in the past, then maybe you look for Cody Heinen. If he prefers an interior guy, maybe you look for Fred Dukes. I don't really know everybody who's still available. There were a few offensive linemen that came and went over the course of the minor league season, Pretty sure both of those two guys are still eligible, if you will. So if he's looking for an offensive lineman and thinks this is the time to do it, there are plenty of guys available.
Yeah, the offensive linemen with high value have gone. There was a couple left with a little bit of value left in there, but I can't really say much. But I tend to agree that I think Andy does like the offensive linemen. We had some bookend tackles in Vancouver last season that helped out quite a bit with the running game and kept Tom Pepper protected. So that would not surprise me at all. But it's Andy Hamilton, guys. You never know where he's going to go.
Maybe
So
he was
it
throwing
looks
me for
like-
a complete loop. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. The pick is in. Vancouver has made their pick. They've made their call, and we'll check in with the commissioner, Cameron Irvine.
With the 32nd pick of the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Vancouver Legions select defensive end Mike Coverson of Atlanta, Georgia, sniping an Atlanta player right before Atlanta is on the clock with pick 33.
All right, so Mike Coverson, the defensive end, goes to Vancouver. And Andy did say in the chat he got his guy, so he wasn't expecting Mike to fall all the way to this point in the second round. So he's happy with his pick. And let's check in with Liam Crowder for his thoughts on that one.
Yeah, nice pick. I like it. Defensive end. Vancouver have, got a great defensive play caller in Andy. I spoke to him actually not so long ago to discuss defensive play calling and just share ideas, and it was a real enlightening experience. So thanks to him for that. But you got someone here who Andy himself has said in the chat, "How did you let this guy slip?" And I have to concur with him really. As we enter the latter stages of this second round, we're still seeing a lot of value on the board. So it's going to be intriguing to see where exactly teams go from here. Atlanta, I think here they got to go with dynasty. I get that quarterback and replace your MVP from last season in Marcus Dunhill. But this is where the draft will really get interesting. It is really going to heat up now.
Tim, talk to us about Mike Coverson.
I think Mike Coverson is actually a really good pick. I think if Andy's working on developing this defensive line, he's got his two ends in a minor league where almost all of the pass rush, all of the impact plays came from the interior of the defensive line. Almost all the game wreckers came from the defensive tackle spot. Mike Coverson is one of the most successful defensive ends at causing pressure, towards the top of the league in sacks among defensive ends and among players, period. So they've got two really good pass rushers. Coverson was good to post, if you will, all throughout the minor league season for Ottawa, all the way up to the championship game. And when he faced off with Michael Percoco, who worked on the other side for Madison, who had a couple of really strong games, especially the couple of times that Madison played Ottawa this minor league season, that could be a really, really solid 1-2 punch on the outside if that's how it pans out for Vancouver at the next level. I would love to see it. So, I mean, if that's the plan, then I'm on board.
Robert Garrett Jr., let's get just a little bit more from you on the Vancouver pick, and then we'll switch over to talking about Atlanta's pick coming up.
Yeah, you guys joked right before the pick. It's Andy. You don't really know what's going through his mind, what he's going to do. And that pick definitely caught me off guard. But you can't go wrong with strengthening defensive line and really just building up those powerful edge rushers. Teams can't score points if their quarterback's on the ground half the game. You know what I mean? So it definitely a great pick for Andy, and Vancouver's got a solid defense so far.
All right, let's switch over to Atlanta. Demond, they went defensive end with Billy Ray Valentine in the first round. We know what they need to address. Do you think they go quarterback at this point, or do you think they let it slide and wait?
You know what? After seeing St. Louis pass on the quarterback, I think I got basically an idea as far as why Atlanta and St. Louis are passing on the QB from the first round and St. Louis here in the second round as well. There's a lot of quarterbacks out there. Not too many teams need one. So the quarterback position is really not a demand right now, Right. So they probably could wait to address those spots later. So Atlanta may go D tackle right here, or they may go kicker or so. But I most definitely would like to say that they're going to go QB. They're going to go ahead and address this issue now. But there is some value on the board at defensive tackle. It's not much value, but it is value on the board at DT that this team could address for their defensive line. And they can have someone right next to Josh Williams, man, who was a powerhouse last season. Dude came in the SFL and just caused chaos for all quarterbacks, man, and help this team get to the SFL championship for season 14.
So, yeah, Atlanta, you're right. There aren't a lot of teams that need to address quarterback. And that was kind of my thought as we were coming into these picks. They could let it slide for a while because I'm not sure that besides St. Louis, I'm not sure who left on the list needs to address the quarterback here in this round. But with all the quarterbacks that are available, Liam, your thoughts?
I think I'm making a bet. Yeah. Laugh it out, Rich. I'm making a bet for myself here if Atlanta don't draft a QB. But Demond makes a good point about the value is there for the QBs because they're not in demand, but they will be in demand from this point onwards.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
Yes, they will. just less than a minute before. Oh no, the pick is in. I just saw that graphic. The pick is in with Atlanta. So we'll find out. See where Atlanta goes. We'll check in with the commissioner, Cameron Irvine.
With the 33rd pick in the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Atlanta Swarm select quarterback Bryant Dynasty, Aliyah Hawaii. Fort Worth has the 34th pick and the first pick that is secondary position optional.
All right, so they do go quarterback, guys. They address that spot. Bryant Dynasty comes off the board. Let's go straight to Tim Hackett and get your opinion as we see a little bit of a highlight film here from Bryant Dynasty.
I'm with the rest of the guys that this was the most fascinating pick of the draft. This and St. Louis combined, this was the biggest storyline for me today. St. Louis got to kind of set the tone based on their first pick back at number 30. They elected to not take a quarterback, and that left the door open here for Atlanta to do whatever they wanted. But I'm with Damon here that if Atlanta valued having a quarterback that they wanted, this was their opportunity to go ahead and get their guy. And I think all of us that were kind of prognosticating this draft over the last week or two thought that Bryant Dynasty would be their guy, whether that he was the third quarterback taken off the board in round one or the second quarterback taken here overall, the first one in round two. It didn't really matter. It still happened that Bryant Dynasty is the guy that goes to Atlanta. So mystery solved, I guess. Now the cards are, St. Louis can do anything they want with their quarterback. They have some time, I guess, when we get down that line. But I mean, here and now is a great pick, as we talked about all day today. And as everybody talked about yesterday, Bryant Dynasty is a great guy. He's done a whole lot for the league, so his intangibles are there. And this is where my perspective, my insight doesn't really have as much value because on the field, he was decent. He did some things very well. He's got a good arm, good scrambling ability, but other quarterbacks, frankly, put up better numbers in the minor league if you want to look at it that black and white fashion. But in terms of everything that he brings to the table from a league perspective, from a promotions perspective, and for the type of person that he is, there's really no question, no surprise that he was the top quarterback on a lot of people's boards. Atlanta needed a quarterback. They have their guy.
So the Fort Worth Toros are on the clock, and you're getting a little live look in right here on the board at Robert Garrett Jr., the general manager, into his war room while he handles his pick. We won't be hearing from him here, but we'll check in with Damon Simeon. Fort Worth went with 2 picks last round in the first round. They got David Horrell with the number 1 pick in the draft at linebacker, and then they went kicker with Taco Sicario. Where do you think they're going, Damon?
Well, my guess here all along was going to be KT Horrell, but she's off the board. I know that the Horrells wanted to be a package deal for the team that selected David and so forth. So I thought Fort was, if she would have been on the board, this is the selection I would be taking right here.
Sure.
So as of right now, I can see them basically probably addressing the defensive line there with D tackle and D end. That would be the selection that I'm going to predict for Fort Worth to go ahead and take.
Liam, let's hear from you on this one.
Are we referring to the upcoming Toros pick or the Atlanta pick? I have opinions on both.
Well, let's do the upcoming Toros pick, and I'd like to get back to the Atlanta pick, but I want to make sure we get a chance to talk about the Toros pick here before it gets selected.
I would not presume to tell Robert how to do his job. Let me put it that way. He's a good guy, Robert. He learned from the best. What can I say? So, I think the Toros are probably going to go with D-line here, like has been pointed out by Demand. I think it's like I said before, this is now the really interesting point because the draft up until this point has been an interesting experience. It's been a great experience for the entire league. There's so much going on, but now you have a completely new draft in terms of the players that are available, the positions that are available, the value that is able to be spread out along the board. So, I mean, Robert, I think, and Stephen, those guys are going to make a good decision. The Toros are a new team, a lot of bright ideas. It's going to be interesting to see where exactly they go. They've got a lot of different options they can go with. Robert's not giving anything away. I've got no inside information like I'll let it gauge. So what have I got? Nothing.
Well, like you were saying, this does open things up a little bit because this is the first pick that's eligible to pick secondary positions. So this does open up what they can pick and where they can send their or what players they can look at. Damon, does that come into play?
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Houston has a pick at 37, so I'm looking for stuff. So my apologies. Can you please repeat the question for me again?
Everyone's looking ahead, Rich.
Yeah,
Everyone's
I know. He was
ahead.
looking at. Hey, he's prepared.
Priorities.
Man. He's prepared.
Yeah, priorities.
Half of your panel is sweating right now.
I know. Yeah. It's just me and Tim sitting here being able to relax. So
I'm completely cool. I got nothing going on. No worries at all. Everybody else here is sweating. I have no idea what's going on in the next 20 minutes.
That's right.
Sorry, guys.
No, Damon, I was asking about the secondary position issue and that caveat to this and maybe changing up what players are available. Do you start looking at those guys at this point, or are you still sticking to whatever your primary needs are?
At this point, yes, you have to. I've even went about as far as reaching out to a couple of guys today, and asking those individuals, hey, what are your secondary builds and so forth, to see if their secondary builds are some pieces that I can add in on this team and so forth. So you do want to start getting the groove of hitting up some of these guys now and just basically find out what are these secondary builds, because some of them are not listed. Some of them are you have to find and dig and do your own research or so forth. But yeah, I think now is the time to start thinking about that and so forth, because some of the main positions that those values are starting to go down.
Robert, you guys move fast. Pick is in for Fort Worth. So let's go ahead and check in with the commissioner, Cameron Irvine, as he steps to the mic to announce this pick.
With the 34th pick of the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Fort Worth Toros select free safety Ben Stone. They must take one more primary pick later in the draft. The 35th pick, Portland, you're on the clock.
So Ben Stone goes free safety, or Ben Stone, the free safety, goes to the Fort Worth Toros, and Liam does not look happy. Robert is all smiles. We couldn't talk to Robert before the pick, but we can talk to him now. Let's get your opinion on that, Robert. Give us a little insight.
Oh, we love it. Ben Stone's been, one of the top guys we've talked to, even prior to our Xander signing when we were talking to quarterbacks. Every interview we had with him, we loved it, and just a great guy. We're really excited to have him and build something with him.
Liam, what's wrong, man? What happened?
Oh no, nothing's happened. No. Ben is one of the higher people on our board. Let's put it that way. No, that's a great pick. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. This is a new draft now. We've entered a separate stage, and these options are now available to teams. And I'm not going to get off of this point St. Louis should have taken a quarterback at the point when they drafted the wide receiver. And unfortunately now they've lost Dynasty, they've lost Stone. I don't know. I'm speechless. But great pick, Robert. Ben's a great guy. Ties within the league to Eddie Gage. So that's a great pick.
All right, well, we're going to leave Liam alone, let him do his pick thing, and we'll talk with Tim Hackett. Tim, tell me about Ben Stone.
What's fascinating now, Rich, as these guys have said, is that now that we're into this new era of the SFL where you can have secondary picks this early on in the draft, it kind of renders a lot of the minor league null and void in some facets. What you do on the field now no longer matters. It now becomes entirely your presence, your draftability, if you will, becomes entirely predicated upon who you are and your willingness to adapt, your willingness to serve the league, if you will, to be a good teammate. And from what I've heard, from what I've seen in live stream chats, and otherwise, Ben Stone is one of those guys. He's very supportive of his team for the Birmingham Fuel as the quarterback, and now he's going to have to be the same way as a free safety for Fort Worth. As Robert mentioned, they don't have a need at quarterback anymore. There wasn't a whole lot of need for quarterback in the major leagues, so they needed to find a place to put Ben Stone, and if he's willing to flex out and be a free safety and augment a position that Fort Worth already has pretty solidly controlled their secondary, then good for them. If that's something that they identified as a possibility and now that's turned into an actuality. So good for Ben Stone. I know he's a very well-liked guy, and that shows his willingness to adapt and his willingness to put a team first.
All right, we're looking in at the Portland Fleet War Room. We'll see where they go here in just a minute. Jacob Bovet is looking around. Their general manager, Nelson Lozano, also working on that. And I think we got a phone call happening, guys. Demond, where do you see Portland going?
Portland. Let's see here. I think Portland should go wide receiver right here. I think that's an issue that they need to address and so forth. Me personally, I don't think you can have enough wide receivers on the team. I don't think 2 is enough. I think 3 is okay, but this is probably an issue that they need to address. I would say go offense here with the wide receiver, and the positions that are available, they're still high value at cornerback. They're still high value at both of those safety, free safety, and strong safety or so. But I would most definitely go wide receiver right here, and I would address the rest of the draft on the back end.
Yeah, we've got a deep wide receiver availability in this class, and we've only had 3 picked in the draft so far. So a lot of wide receivers sitting out there, and Portland being an expansion team, they've got a lot of needs to address. Robert Garrett Jr., how do you see this happening?
Yeah, I think wide receiver is the pick here for Portland. You still got Beth Horrell at 6'6" on the board. Just about really a tight end. Could put her in the slot, and it would just cause all kinds of problems for matchups and things like that. But they do have a lot of choices here to make, so who knows where they're going to go with it.
So again, Portland on the clock. They went, like we said, they went defense with their first 2 picks in the first round. Bernard Patterson and Bob Funk. Defensive tackle Patterson was the number 2 pick overall to the Portland Fleet, and Bob Funk was their second pick in the first round. Tim Hackett, talk to me about some of these wide receivers that are available. Who do you see as the best available?
Well, it depends, I guess, on the type of wide receiver that Portland is looking for. I confess I don't know the entire makeup of their roster, but just looking down some of these draft boards, there's a bunch of different kinds of wide receivers available. Beth Horrell has already been mentioned. She was an excellent wide receiver 1. Her size speaks for itself. She's a huge target, catches just about everything thrown her way. Art Vandelay is more of a streaky dash and go type of wide receiver, catches the intermediate routes very well. CJ Arthur, we know all about him over the course of the season. He's made some headlines, positive and negative, had a massive week 1 that still stands as one of the best games a wide receiver had over the course of the minor league season, with 2 deep receiving touchdowns and over 150 receiving yards. He's a guy that could do a little bit of everything. He's not very big, like Liam said, but he also doesn't have a whole lot of drops, catches the intermediate routes very well. And then there's Gene Valentine, who's a little bit further down some people's boards, but a true wide receiver one who showed you why in the semifinal game for Ottawa against Annapolis, and CJ Arthur to lift the Cavalry into the championship game where he had another solid performance. So any of those four, I think, would be fantastic choices, but there are plenty of other good value picks, I guess, to use the more general term, deeper on in the draft. So if Portland thinks that they can get more wide receivers later, I know they have a ton of picks over the course of this week. So if they want to wait and take a couple of lesser valued wide receivers, if you'll pardon the choice of words, then maybe that's the goal here. But if they want to take a top wide receiver 2 maybe at this point in the draft, I think that's a pretty good strategy as well.
All right, the Portland Fleet have made their choice. The pick is in. Let's check in with the commissioner, Cameron Irvine, for that pick.
With the 35th pick of the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Portland Fleet select wide receiver Connor Weston, Boston, Massachusetts. London is on the clock with the 36th pick.
So they do go wide receiver, and they go Connor Weston. Connor was listed as a running back, guys. Damon, talk to us about that pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very good pick here. It was one that I feel that they needed to address right away. If you look at it, some of these, offensive positions is going to start flying off the board. There's a position. Those are spots that need to be addressed on a lot of teams and so forth. So it's best to go ahead and get the ones right now that you need before the back end, before you start getting players with low value and so forth that basically is going to hinder you on the offensive side of the ball.
So, all right, guys, I'm looking over at the chat, and David Horrell made a comment that Beth really loved that huge comment. Every lady wants to hear that she's huge. So
I think that was directed at me. I'm sorry, David. I'm sorry, David. Sorry, Beth. That was not what we meant. Come on, the size speaks for itself. That's all we were saying. Great target. Big target. That's it.
All right, Tim, talk to us now about Connor.
I think I just made it worse, haven't I?
Yeah, I think you did. Connor Weston, Tim, talk to us about Connor.
Well, I appreciate you giving me another opportunity to talk. Maybe I won't put my foot in it this time, but this is a fascinating pick in terms of what we were just talking about for the last couple of selections when it comes to secondary builds. I just gave you a very cursory overview of 4 available wide receivers, and for whatever reason, Portland decided to go with the secondary player, a player at his secondary position in Connor Weston. I will say that as a running back, he was built to catch the ball. He was one of the best receiving running backs in the minor league. Albuquerque used him in that role all the time, and he excelled. So if he can translate that out wide and be a good possession wide receiver, maybe a wide receiver 2 or a slot receiver for Portland at the next level, then that's fantastic. I have no idea how his skill set is going to transition over to the wide receiver position, but if they like Connor Weston as a person, more so, I guess, than some of the other actual wide receivers, if you will, that were available, then I'm all for it.
All right, let's talk about London. Let's talk about Liam while you can't hear us. They were the first team to go offense last season. They went tight end with the 3rd pick, Robert Garrett Jr. Where are they going? Where do you think? Where do you see London's needs, and where do you think they're going to go?
I think they could go wide receiver here. It's a big chance. They lost Gabe Manning this past season and Saren Storm, 2 really big pieces of the offense that Liam and London had last season. So I think that's an option. Or they could look at defensive end, find somebody there to rush off the edge and keep putting quarterbacks in the ground. Like I said earlier, that's a big part of the game.
Damon, talk to me about London and their needs and if we can try and maybe figure out what Liam's talking about right now.
Yeah, I most definitely agree with Robert Garrett, number 2. Up there at the top of the panel, is that they may go wide receiver right here after losing Gabriel Manning, which was a big threat going down the field on a lot of those post corner routes and those deep post routes and so forth, making spectacular catches. I think that this will be the position that London will need to address right here, and that will be the wide receiver spot.
All right, so we think London might be going wide receiver. Tim, talk to me about what wide receivers again. He could pick
Yeah.
anybody. It's a secondary position availability. But let's talk again about these wide receivers and what do you think will fit?
Well, I know Liam doesn't need my expertise if it even exists, but I'm going to say I really love both of his picks from last night. So to me, there are two options here. How you augment those two picks from last night. So either you go with a wide receiver to try to augment Benji Matson, the tight end, or you go defensive line like a pass rusher like Robert alluded to augment Jeff Gagne, the linebacker. I love both of those two guys as players. So I think those are the two options here.
Yeah, I agree. And the pick is in. So we'll check out what is happening with London and throw this right over to the commissioner. Tell us what happened, Cam.
Liam, I didn't get it. I didn't get the pick. I didn't get it. Yeah.
Get on with it. Come on. Hey, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and
okay.
websites go
All
down an awful lot at this time of night. So get on with it. Come on.
With the 36th pick of the SFL's rookie draft, the London.
Do it properly. Come on. Oh, he's gone.
No,
Oh,
I
nice.
was just fooling you.
He's just
the
really good at that.
36th pick, the London Knights select Dustin Zeck, wide receiver. Houston's on the clock with the 37th selection.
So London goes wide receiver with Dustin Zeck. And let's talk about that, Liam. Tell us about Dustin.
Yeah, at this point in the draft, I said it before, I'll say it again. You got these great guys who, from a personality standpoint, maybe the availability isn't there in the positions that they want to be. Wide receiver for us, we were not maybe looking at a wide receiver in this stage, but the availability being there from last night and going into the secondary picks, it's great for us. And Dustin is someone we value very highly, amongst the likes of, guys like Benji Matson, Jeff Gagne. So Dustin being on board, I just had a really great conversation with him. He's excited to get involved with the team. And it's going to be interesting to see what exactly he can do on the field for us. We got a great guy in Vincalia who is definitely going to be supplemented by Dustin. And Angus is going to be happy with having another weapon on the board to play with. So Dustin's a great guy. We're looking forward to working with him moving forward.
So we're going to let Demond handle his business. Houston is on the clock, so Demond is getting ready to make his pick. Let's go to Tim. Tim Hackett, talk to us about Dustin Zeck, another running back shifted over to wide receiver.
It's fascinating that we've seen 3 secondary positions taken all in a row now that we have this availability at this stage in the draft. I should say 3 players taken at their secondary positions, 3 straight picks now, back-to-back picks. We have running backs flexing over to wide receivers. So I'm very curious how this works out. I think you just got some insight there from Liam into the thought process into how they chose Dustin Zeck specifically. They didn't necessarily target a wide receiver, but they wanted him. So he said he was willing, we're reading between the lines here, he said he was willing to become a wide receiver. London doesn't need a running back. They didn't need Dustin Zeck to play that position, but he said, I'm willing to be a wide receiver. And so they said, welcome aboard. So you got to get on a plane flight or a boat or whatever it is and get on over there across the pond. But if he's willing to do that and to commute to work every day, then, power to him. So he wasn't the most dynamic running back in the minor league in terms of an output standpoint, but if he was willing to do that and become a wide receiver at the next level, then power to him.
Robert Garrett Jr., Dustin Zeck from your stomping grounds, Cleveland, Ohio. I know you're not necessarily from Cleveland, but from the Ohio area. So what do you think of this pick and them going for wide receiver?
Yeah, Dustin's a good pick for London. Really good guy. And I had to have a little chuckle with myself, though. And free agency, London moved a receiver to running back, and now they moved a running back to receiver in the draft. But yeah, I think that was a good fit for him. And like I said, they had a couple missing spots at receiver with Manning out and Saren Storm going to Louisiana. So it made a lot of sense to me to take him there.
All right, so Houston is on the clock, and Damon Simeon is working in his war room in there, and we're not going to talk to him right now because we wouldn't want to let him give away anything. So let's go to Liam and find out where Liam thinks Houston's going to go and what you think. Let's climb into the mind of Damon Simeon and figure out what he's doing.
Damon Simeon's a much better coach than me, so I'm very eager to jump into his mind. Yeah, he can hear that. Go on. No, cool. I think just looking at their roster as it stands so far, it's interesting to me. Maybe kicker. I don't know. Maybe a kicker. We'll see. It's maybe a bit early for a kicker, but I think that something which I mentioned earlier in the evening with the line, Damon's got options. He could slot a player in on both sides of the line, so that could be an option here for Houston. But Demond is a smart guy. He's going to make the best pick for his team. And I absolutely believe whoever the Hyenas get in this position, I'm more curious to see who exactly they get, whether they get a primary guy or if they get a secondary guy with maybe a little bit more value there. As he's seen with us, we went with a second, a guy that we really like personality-wise in his secondary position, because that is what we felt was best for our team. So it's interesting to see where exactly the Hyenas go here. But I know whoever it is, Damon's going to make a great pick. He's on the phone now, so I'm pretty sure that's in.
Robert Garrett Jr., you have any insight that you want to add here? Yeah, Damon's on the phone making his call, so that pick's coming up here pretty quick.
It's kind of hard to tell, but, I see defensive end and defensive tackle both on their team needs, and that could be somewhere that they look to go possibly. That defensive line thinned out a little bit at the end of last season, lost a couple guys, and they could be looking to fill in right there.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's so many different needs, and these guys didn't do a lot in the offseason in free agency, just as you can see on the screen there. They didn't get a lot done, but they did keep their core. So he could go anywhere at this point. He did. Let me pull up what he did in yesterday's rounds. I have it right here in front of me. Went linebacker and defensive end, which for Damon does not surprise me. Go in defense, Brody Gulch and Wolf Justice, or Justice Wolf, whatever you want to say. So we'll see where he goes this time. Tim, you have anything you want to add before we get the pick here?
I'm glad you brought up the picks from yesterday because I love both of them. To me, those were the two biggest needs for Damon and company, linebacker and defensive end. And so see a need, fill a need. And that's what they did yesterday with their two picks. So you take Brody Gulch, who was a very common number one overall pick, or at least a top 5 on a whole lot of mock drafts. If you value those, to me, one of the best linebackers, as I said before, in a class chock full of them, a guy who did everything really well, all the way en route to a runner-up berth in the championship game. So Brody Gulch was a fantastic pick, even though it kind of fell to Damon at 4th overall. And then Wolf Justice shores up the defensive end spot. So to me, there's still an opening on the defensive line. So maybe they work on the other end opposite Justice, or they try to shore up the middle. As we've said all evening long so far, there are loads of other good defensive tackles, guys like A.K. Jones, who are more of a run stopper, or pass rushers like Tina Begin and Igor Barbatov, to just name 2. So if that's the position, I think there's loads of options available.
And we talked a little earlier about this mock draft that dropped earlier tonight, right before the draft happened, and that's what that mock draft is saying. They're saying that Houston's going to go defensive tackle with Tina Begin. So we'll see how accurate that one is. But the pick is in, and Damond is back on the headset and hearing us. So we'll flip this right over to the commissioner, Cameron Irvine, at the mic.
With the 37th pick in the SFL rookie draft, the Houston Hyenas select fullback Stephen McMichaels, Louisiana. You're on the clock with the 38th pick.
So fullback, I don't think anybody said anything about a fullback. Damon, tell us about that pick. There is Stephen McMichaels after being picked. Looks pretty happy and glad to be joining the Houston Hyenas. Damon Simeon, talk to us about Stephen.
Stephen, as I stated, we like to look at value. Stephen has a high value of look at him.
There he is. That's excitement.
He's happy. He's excited. We looked at value. I couldn't allow this guy to stay on the board with 18 weeks of check-ins, and I don't think he had a miss check-in as well. So that's value that I looked at. I mean, there was some value that I really liked, especially on the defensive end, that I really wanted to address. I do have my eyes on a few people on that defensive side that I spoke with, but I just couldn't let this guy slip to the third. I didn't think he was going to be in the third round for me.
Yeah, Stephen McMichaels, you're right. 18 check-ins, did not miss a single check-in, moved over from running back to fullback. Again, that secondary position comes into play here for DeMond. Tim Hackett, talk to us about Stephen McMichaels.
4 picks now in a row, Rich, that we've seen a player taken at their secondary position. So clearly this new motion to allow this new wrinkle into the second round, which passed overwhelmingly, has clearly been well received by the owners and general managers. They are taking full advantage of this opportunity. So again, you got some really good insight into the thought process there from DeMond, that Stephen McMichaels, who is a solid running back in the minor league, he played particularly well, a little bit of a redemption performance for him in the championship game, scoring 2 touchdowns, albeit in a losing effort. But if he says, I'm willing to move over to fullback, if Houston's got their running back all set and they need a fullback, and he's a guy that is shown a willingness to help out. He's done stats. He's active during games. He's very supportive of his teammates, I know for a fact. So that's going to be the type of guy that Houston gets at the next level. And if he's going to be able to come in and churn out a couple of yards as a fullback, poach in a touchdown or 2 over the course of the season, maybe catch some passes. We saw him do that with relative effectiveness at times over the course of the minor league as a tailback, then that's a fantastic pick.
Robert Garrett Jr., your thoughts on this pick of Stephen McMichaels here in the second round?
Yeah, I really like that pickup of Stephen McMichaels. I seen him the other day in the chat say something about he was hoping to get to live his dream and be on some team, and I'm really glad to see he ended up on a team. Unfortunate that we have to play him in week 1, but either way, I'm happy for you, Stephen, and congrats.
Yeah, for those of you just checking us out and not really sure what's going on, found us on YouTube tonight. This is the Simulation Football League Season 15 draft. Season 15 starts July 17th, Friday night, July 17th. Baltimore and Atlanta. Atlanta, the defending champions, trying to repeat as the Florida Storm, once the Alaska Storm, have done in the past. So make sure you get out there to simulationfl.net, check us out, get on our Discord, and find out all about us. And you get involved to get back into the Season 16 draft, get in the SFL minor league, and just have a great old time. It's a great community. You talked about Stephen McMichael and his excitement to be involved and to be in the league. Liam, talk to us about that community and how important that is to you guys when you're making your picks.
Oh, absolutely. It's quite funny, actually, because I seem to recall someone made the comment that myself and Andy Hamilton were fighting each other to get the most broadcasters and, league operations people actually on board on our teams. But, it says something about, a person's commitment if they get involved with the community. And, our community ambassador of the season for many seasons running, Ashley Jackson.
Oh yeah,
she's got such a amazing personality, and what she does for this league is so important. So I just wanted to quickly comment on Damon's pick, because you mentioned earlier, Rich, we tried to peer inside Damon's head. But I've got to say, that is an amazing pick. A fullback converted from running back with their secondary build in McMichaels. That's got to be one of the picks of the entire draft so far. I can see my good friend here, Gerald Smith, is get on his way making the pick for Louisiana. I'm sure him and Jeff has something up their sleeve here But I want to say absolutely amazing pick, Demond. That was just fullback. They're so underrated, and getting one in Houston is going to be such a boost for you. So congratulations.
So let's go right over to Demond and talk about this Louisiana pick. We saw Gerald Smith in his war room trying to make his pick, and I'm sure he's got a call to make. They went defensive end in the first round, wide receiver this round, and the first pick of the second round. Where do you see Louisiana going, Demond?
Louisiana. I mean, they've already addressed the quarterback issue with Pickler and so forth. So with Louisiana, I can't remember them. I know they addressed it one wide receiver in the in the free agent period or so forth, but they may possibly go on the defensive side here. They beef up that defensive line. That's why I'm projecting them to go. Is to do something on the defensive line over there in Louisiana.
Robert Garrett Jr., talk to us about some defensive players that are available.
Yeah, there's a lot of great defensive players that are available. It's really hard to talk about them now that we've opened up this wormhole of secondary builds and things like that. But just the guys that I know of, you still got guys like Gary Marks from Boise, and personally he's a guy that I got to do a lot with this season, and wherever he ends up, it's going to be a good pickup. But plenty of guys out there. Just waiting to get their name called.
Yeah, and you're right. With the secondary availability now, you can kind of look at the highest valued player on the board, and as long as they're willing to switch to another position, you can go there. Tim Hackett, talk to me. I mean, you know these guys better than most of us on the panel here, if not all of us on the panel. Talk about these guys that are available.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I don't know if that's totally true at this point, but I will accept the compliment and run with it. It's really fascinating, all of the different options that are now open, all the different routes that owners and GMs can go. It makes it impossible to predict, because I think there are loads of good defensive players available. Lots of folks on the defensive line. We've already talked about Tina Begin, maybe Gary Birdie from Boise, or Mufasa Kamau from Albuquerque. Those are all great defensive tackles. But if somebody else says, I want to play defensive tackle, and they're higher overall, I think you'll see that, especially with the defensive line. All the values are so clustered together. It's Bernard Patterson and then everybody else in terms of value. So if there's somebody else of a higher value, a higher overall, that wants to play defensive tackle, I would not be surprised to see them go.
All right, the pick is in. Louisiana has made their second pick of the second round. So let's check in with Commissioner Cameron Irvine and find out what that pick is.
With the 38th pick of the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Louisiana Revolution select defensive tackle Luther Gond, Buffalo, New York. Lone Star is on the clock with the 39th pick.
So defensive tackle Luther Gond goes to the Louisiana Revolution. So they go two defensive players here in the first two rounds. Pick up a wide receiver also here in the second round. Liam Crowder, talk to us.
Yeah, Luther Gond's an interesting guy. I've seen him about in the server, and I think this is a good pickup from Louisiana here. They haven't necessarily had too much of a focus on the defensive line until this draft. But Gerald, I know him very well. We had some great D-line play in London back when he was with us. So I think this is a really good pick in Luther Gond. I'm interested to see, they got a few more spots they need to fill in the third and fourth. We had some interesting discussions today, actually, with Louisiana in terms of, how we could work together in terms of maybe working out some sort of trade. But, we haven't seen any, Rich. And I think that's telling us to how uneasy teams feel about trading in the way that the draft is put together at this stage. We talk to all teams. I'm not giving anything away by saying we spoke to Louisiana, we speak to Mexico City, we spoke to Vancouver, we spoke to everybody. And the way it panned out, trades are just not efficient in this format of draft at the moment. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not the league makes changes in this regard going into next season. Discussions that will eventually ensue as a result of this draft. It's been an amazing experience, but there's things that will definitely be in owners' minds as we get to the draft next season. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. Some real big names left on the board as well, Rich. There are some guys who you think they're going to go. They're just not going at the moment. But as has been pointed out, it's all about value now. I think for some of these teams, so it'd be interesting to see what exactly happens. And having that mesh of personality and value is obviously a real boost up for some of these players at this point in the draft.
I want to address something that was asked in the chat here just a minute ago. Is it just 2 rounds of a draft? No, we've got 7 rounds of this draft. This is round 2. Rounds 3 and 4 are tomorrow night, right back here on YouTube, rounds 3 and 4. And then we take a break, and Friday night is round 5. Saturday is round 6 and round 7. So plenty of time left. Lots of rookies to be picked yet. So make sure you tune in, check out all this draft. If you're new and you're just figuring this out, get out to simulationfl.net, get on the Discord, figure out what we're all about. This is the first controllerless esport. Everybody can participate. You can get a player on the field. You don't have to pick up a controller. You don't have to be a video game guru to be able to get involved. Just get out there and start talking to everybody on Discord, get your player on the field, and just have a great time in the community. You will not regret it. So now we've got the Lone Star Glory back on the clock. The Glory so far have gone quarterback with Ace Fennick. He was the 6th pick of the draft, and then today they went Thomas Smith at free safety. Robert Garrett Jr., the Lone Star Glory. What do you think?
I mean, they still got running back out there. Something that they need. Obviously, didn't sign Pseudo Nakai, which everybody was wondering about. So there's obviously somebody in the draft that they like, somebody that they decided was valuable enough to do that. So I think we could see that go right here.
Yeah, Pseudo Nakai not coming back and not holding down that running back spot was a shocker for me. But Charles Doherty's got something up his sleeve there at Lone Star. So Damon Simeon, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts here is, man, I don't care about Lone Star, man. No, I'm just kidding. I just had to throw that out there. I love Charles and his co-owner and so forth. But I think they're going to address position here, man. That yesterday they went with
Ace Fennick at quarterback.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. I couldn't find
it.
Listen,
all right.
Hey, how could you forget that, Demond? They had like party poppers and everything when they had
mascots
that pick.
And all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask, did they get permission to use Toro? That was amazing there. But yeah, I think they need to give Finch some weapons. How about going wide receiver, which is a large wide receiver class. I don't think we've seen a tight end come off the board, if I'm not mistaken. There are some tight ends out there. I'm not going to name names, but we saw one in the first round go to London, right. Matson. But other than that, there haven't been a tight end to come off the board. So that would be a good pick for them as well. Get the tight end, work the middle of the field, and so forth, and the sidelines also to help Finch out. If he ever becomes under pressure and so forth. That is where I would go with this. Like I said, there's some good value at the tight end spot.
Well, the pick is in. Lone Star has made their selection. So let's check in with Cameron Irvine for the 39th pick.
With the 39th pick in the SFL Season 15 rookie draft, the Lone Star Glory select Hugo Reynosa, defensive tackle, El Paso, Texas. Tulsa, you're on the clock with the 40th pick, and Liam, I don't want to kiss you.
All right, let's go straight to Liam, see if he can keep it together. Hugo Reynosa is the pick for the Lone Star Glory, Liam. Talk about Hugo.
I was invoking my inner Shaq, my inner Shaquille O'Neal, so I'm going to get memed. Andy's going to, that's a new emote for the server now, so no, I don't know how to feel about this. I think this is a similar situation to St. Louis, where there's a very obvious need. You need a running back in this league, and to not get one,
Took one.
They took one. Where
They took one here. Just not at running back. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off, Liam. I'm just.
Oh no! You're absolutely right. No, the position specifically, like to not get like you got Fox Highwind, Ezekiel Love. My word, like I swear, back at the very original start of this process, Ezekiel Love was my guy, and the way that this draft has turned out for running backs has been nothing short of cataclysmic, and for quarterbacks as well. It's just shocking. So, I mean, it's a good pick for Lone Star. I just wonder if it's a better option to go with the running back. And you're quite right, Tim. It's another case where you got a guy in a specific position who is being taken somewhere else. So, yeah, bizarre.
So we're looking in at Deion Hawkins from Tulsa. He's getting ready to make his pick. They are on the clock. Tim Hackett, another secondary pick, moving that running back over to defensive tackle. Hugo Reynosa. Talk to us about Hugo.
Yeah, look, again, Liam, sorry to cut you off. I was just stunned because here's the flip side of this, something we haven't addressed yet. 6 straight players now taken at their secondary position, which is their prerogative and the prerogative of the teams. But the flip side of that is that 5 of those 6 players, including the last 5 after Ben Stone to Fort Worth, were all running backs. So now what that means is that for the teams that are in need of running backs to play running back, such as Lone Star, as Liam just addressed, there are now that many fewer guys available to play running back. Now, of course, I'll preface this by saying, obviously, there are people who could have running back as their secondary position and render this point null and void. But as it stands, if we don't assume that to be true, there are only a couple of people at running back that are still available. And Hugo Reynosa was one of the highest valuable backs available. And now he's going to flex over and play defensive tackle. So, for him and for Lone Star, that's great. He was very successful as a pass-catching running back. So if he's going to be a high-value defensive tackle, then that's a fantastic way for them to go. But teams need running backs. And now, Liam hit the nail on the head. Right now, if you need a running back, you've got Fox Highwind, Ezekiel Love, and Kevin Say. That's pretty much your 3 folks that are still available in terms of top-tier talent, top-tier values. So unless you're going to shuffle somebody else from to a secondary position at running back, the choices are very minimal, which is, it's stunning to me just from a traditional standpoint, but it just shows you how fun and how quirky this league is. You have no idea how it's going to shape out. You have no idea who's going to go where. And who knows at this point, maybe Fox Highwind doesn't play running back. That's a hot take because I know for a fact that he wants to, but you never know. You can't be 100% sure.
Tim, I've just got Rich. I don't want to hog the mic because
go ahead.
I want to hear the rest of the panel's thoughts, but I'm going to get real Mel Kipered here because Lone Star Gloria saying to me, "Why do they need a running back?" I went without a running back, and you can have an effective game, but I'm not sure that's an optimal game plan when every defense in the league is game planning against you not having a running back or any sort of run game whatsoever. And generic running backs are just simply not good enough to play at an SFL level. Now, the point has been made. They could go and get someone in the supplemental at running back. That's a fair point. The problem is that the value is there on the board at the moment. Why would you go and get someone in the supplemental when you can get a guy like Ezekiel Love, who, as has been pointed out, a great guy, deserves to play running back in the SFL. Fox Highwind, another guy, great guy, deserves to play running back in the SFL. Fox Highwind told me he wanted to play running back at the end of the last draft. like, this guy has been waiting for his turn. And, I think that, teams just need to really just bite the bullet and go for it. I'm not gonna hog the mic. I really want to hear what the other guys here think about this, because I'm just stunned. I think that, Lone Star do need to go for a running back. If not now, it's going to have to be a focus in the supplemental. So,
well, let's go to Damon. Damon, real quick, talk a little bit about Lone Star, but we've only got about a minute left before the Desperados pick should be in. So I want to get to Desperados too. So give me a little bit of both, Damon.
Maybe they wanted fullback, and maybe I took the guy who they wanted. So I'm not sure what happened there, but that's what I'm projecting. But I do agree with Liam. You got to go running back here in this league. If not a running back, you got to have a fullback. You got to have some type of balance in this league. You just can't come out and just, if they're going to go with an air attack, that's something that's going to be not so good. If you go back, I want to say season 11, I think Dallas tried to go just an air attack, no running back, and they only used their quarterback to run the ball. And it was a disaster for Dallas back then. I mean, I want to say they threw the most interceptions in a season than anybody or so. But it was just crazy, just to see that offense just suffer without having a run game whatsoever.
All right, the pick is in for Tulsa, but real quick, Damon, give me your prediction here for Tulsa.
Tulsa, Desperados. Let's go defense. I'm going to say free safety. They need to address that. They didn't address it the last pick.
Yep, they did not. All right, so the pick is in for Tulsa. Damon saying free safety. Let's check with the commissioner, Cam.
With the 40th pick, and you might as well put those fingers down, Damon. With the 40th pick of the SFL Season 15 rookie draft, the Tulsa Desperados select offensive lineman Finley James, San Francisco, California. Denver's on the clock with the 41st pick.
All right, so Denver's on the clock, and Tulsa goes offensive line, and we've talked about Tulsa needing some protection for Deacon Nickens, and it looks like they tried to address that here. Tim, talk to me about this pick, Finley James.
Well, I mean, I'm not even surprised anymore, Rich, that we've got a secondary position taken. Finley James in the minor league as a defensive tackle is going to flex over and be an offensive lineman. So, frankly, I don't have any idea what position on the offensive line he wants to be. Maybe it'll be as easy as he stays as a tackle. Maybe it's the other way and he stays on the interior of the other side of the line. Truly no idea. But he was a solid defensive tackle in the minor league. But, I mean, I've lost count. That ends the stretch of running backs at secondary positions, but I think I've got 7 straight secondary position pick. Everything that's been available to teams, every pick that has had that provision available to them, every team has taken that provision. So it's just fascinating that is how this is gone. And I mean, frankly, to actually answer your question, I thought offensive line was a strategy here for Tulsa. I thought it was a need. I have no idea what Finley James is going to provide for them at offensive line. I haven't seen any tape at all, so I won't lie. Brand new position for him, but clearly, again, this is something that they thought would work, and this is something that, to his credit, Finn said that he would be willing to do. So there we go. Let's see how it plays out.
So we look in on Jeremy Vega as he gets ready to make his second pick of this round, making his call or making his pick. Robert Garrett Jr., talk to us real quick about the Tulsa pick of this offensive lineman.
Yeah, it was a good pick by Tulsa. Between primary and even secondary, the market for offensive linemen is shrinking quickly. There's not a whole lot left on the board. So, Tulsa doing the right move and taking theirs now. And I think you could see even more teams start taking offensive linemen.
All right, Damon, let's switch over to Denver. Let's talk a little bit about this pick. Jeremy Vega enjoying a beverage as he gets ready to make his pick. Talk to us about where Jeremy Vega and Kramer Jackman are going to go here.
I have no idea where these guys are gonna go because it has just been shook up the entire second half of the second round. I mean, as it was stated before, the last 6-7 picks have just been all secondary positions or so forth. When there are value at other spots that these teams need, and they're just going with secondary builds right now. Me personally, my objective was to start going with secondary builds in the 3rd, 4th round and so forth, and in the supplement. Not this early. Well, I knew that some teams needed to address certain areas and so forth, but I didn't think it was going to be like this. This is just bananas. I mean, I agree with Tim.
Liam Crowder, let's hear from you.
I think the point to be made is that there is a flip side to this, which is that primary players are going to have to be picked at the tail end of this draft now. You know, and I mean, for me, I see the opportunity when it's there. If I can get the value on the board, then you know, and get someone I like, then of course I'm going to take that player. But I'm not like absolutely dying because I have to pick a primary player, a primary position. So it really doesn't bother me going for that for the primary spot when we get to the 3rd. And you know, it does give teams flexibility in a way to say, okay, look, we can get this guy. We really like this person. You know, we're going to slot them in there. And you've got I think 3 team owners / GMs on this panel who have said, you know, seen that opportunity and said, yes, we're going to do that. And I can guarantee that Robert and Damon and myself all have options in the 3rd round that we are thinking, you know, that guy who could have been at this spot in a primary position is going to still be there. So, you know, the things that are circulating in our heads is, you know, we're looking at a lot of different elements to this. So I wouldn't, any primary position player who's saying like, oh man, there's this guy who's being picked above me and he's not even played the position that I'm playing. Do not be disheartened. There's still an opportunity that you might slot in a specific team who likes you, but has to consider their team strategy as well. So
let's check in with Robert Garrett Jr. from the GM perspective. You know, you've heard these two owners talking about this from a GM's perspective. You know, taking that high value player, even if it is a secondary position, is that something that you're looking at as an option as well?
Yeah, it definitely is. You know, I agree completely with what Liam was saying there. There's some guys on our board, obviously, with primary positions, but a lot of them are lower value. And we wanted these guys that kind of stood out to us more and we had really good talks with. Wanted to grab them up first, make sure they were on our team, and then we could figure out what we wanted to do from there with the guys in primary spots that we want.
So we've got 4 picks left tonight: Denver, Las Vegas, St. Louis, and Jacksonville. Denver has gone offensive line and cornerback so far in this draft. I'm not sure what their needs are. Do we see an offensive skill position come off of the board, even if it is a secondary spot? You know, let's just talk about position. What position do they need to fill? In order to start rounding out their team and getting ready for this season 15 run, hopefully back to the championship for Denver. Damon, let's check in with you again.
Well, to be honest, I don't know what they need to fill. I don't have the little graphic up here anymore.
That's Cam's fault. Cam did it.
Putting the producer on blast, live TV. How about that? He's not gonna like them apples. Love you, Cam. But yeah, I think Denver's. I mean, Jeremy's one of the smartest owners here in this league.
Yeah.
Made it to the championship game 3 years after owning his team. That speaks volumes compared to some owners that has been here for years and years and has not even made it to the semifinals of the playoffs. So I'm pretty sure that he knows exactly what he's doing and he's going to select the correct pick for his organization. But to go back on as far as these secondary bills, I think owners are basically going after value. That's something that I did today as well. As I started searching around people who had secondary builds, just in case guys who I had on the board would be off, who had some value to them. So that's going to be the reason why we're starting to see this secondary tier come off the board the way that it is.
All right, the pick is in. Mile High City has made their pick. We'll check in with the commissioner once again. Cameron Irvine to the mic to announce this pick.
Yeah, we had a glitch on the right side of our screen with the latter back half of the second round, so apologies. We'll have that fixed for tomorrow night. With the 41st pick in the SFL Season 15 rookie draft, the Denver Nightwings select. Glitches all over the place. Defensive end, Marlon Marshall, Belton, South Carolina. Las Vegas, you're on the clock with the 42nd pick.
Marlon Marshall, defensive end, comes off the board. Let's go straight to Tim Hackett. Tim, what are your thoughts?
Are we surprised? Yet another secondary player at a secondary position chosen. Marlon Marshall is a really interesting guy, a former indoor football player, so he's got that actual gridiron experience, if you will. Was a linebacker in the minor league, and he's going to step down a level and move out to defensive end. As a linebacker, he was very rangy, good tackler, good pursuit, solid in coverage on the left outside linebacker spot from the defensive point of view. So wouldn't be a surprise to me to see him flex down and play that left defensive end spot for Denver. I thought this was another target area for them. They went John Bonazzi earlier on in this round to shore up the offensive line, and now they've got a defensive lineman on the roster now as well. So they augment their secondary last night with the stat man, and now you try to solidify the trenches on both sides, which, as we mentioned when we talked about Denver's first pick, has always been a strategy for Jeremy in his time in the league. Fortify the secondary and fortify the trenches. It's a pretty good pattern for success, if you ask me, as a rookie, as an outsider, and it seemed to have worked for him in the past. So that's what he's going for this year too.
So Marlon Juice Marshall from Belton, South Carolina, 6 foot, 245 pound at the was a defensive tackle spot, I believe, is where he's going to.
Defensive end in theory.
Defensive end. You're right. He did play arena football with the Upstate Dragons.
Yeah.
So he's got some football experience. Robert Garrett Jr., talk to us about this pick.
Yeah, it was a great pickup by Denver. You know, I don't know Marlon Marshall very well personally, but I heard a lot of good things about him, and I definitely feel like he's going to fit that Denver locker room really well and mesh with the guys that they've already gotten.
All right, so Las Vegas is on the clock. They have picked up a kicker and a running back. Otis Bordeaux in the first round, Scott Johnson at running back in the second round. Let's go over to Liam Crowder. Liam, do you think they go defense here?
I wish I had some inside information from what Slynn's going to do, but unfortunately I don't. I think looking at their offense, they're pretty well rounded out. I mean, maybe a tight end. It's the only thing I can think of that they might go for an offense. Now they got the running back. That's the real key spot that they want to fill. So yeah, probably defense here. Slynn is he is a great guy, and he's got that linebacking core locked up with just having himself out there. So maybe they could go for another defensive end. Maybe I don't think they've picked one so far in this draft, so that may be an option. But I'm interested to see what Las Vegas do here. It's certainly not going to be a kicker, that's for sure. So
tight end. They've got the tight end on the mock draft is where. That's where the mock draft says they're going to go as tight end. They had Delaney Nash on there, but I'm kind of ignoring the names at this point since
I think this will be a tight end.
So the pick is in.
Yeah.
You got a little inside information, maybe. The pick is in. Las Vegas has made their selection, and we'll introduce once again to the mic the commissioner, Cameron Irvine.
With the 42nd pick in the Season 15 SFL rookie draft, the Las Vegas Furies select tight end Garrison Blue, Bossier City, Louisiana. St. Louis, you're on the clock with the 43rd pick.
So Liam got one right. Tight end. We didn't go ahead and pick the name of the player, but he got one right. Liam, your reaction?
Yeah, Garrison Blue's a great player. Before Cam so rudely cut me off, I seem to recall a discussion I had. Yeah. I seem to recall. I seem to recall a discussion that I had with Matthew where he said he was keen on a tight end later in the draft, and that did not twig until I just recalled it a moment ago. So Garrison Blue's great player, great choice here by Las Vegas. The tight end position is so versatile in this league. I'm somewhat nervous as well by the current team which is picking. I'm desperate. I'm desperate, Rich.
Well, Tim, Garrison Blue, I know you're going to be shocked when I tell you this, but secondary position once again.
Yeah, you're right on. I think we could have guessed that, I guess, right? So yeah, there's no point in naming names anymore. I was in line with Liam though. I thought tight end was a strategy they could go with. I think that Las Vegas has now filled 3 needs. I think they've got one more left on the defensive line as an opening, I guess, for them, but they filled all other three other needs, not exactly in the order that we expected and not necessarily with the personnel that we expected, but they got a kicker, a running back, and now a tight end. So that's 3 ticks in my book. And Scott Johnson, of course, as we said, is a great running back. So that is probably 2 ticks to the positive for Las Vegas there. But yeah, I mean, again, same as before. If Garrison Blue is willing to move, there's a lot of cornerbacks on the board here. And he was a solid cornerback in the minor league, was there from week 1. Not everybody can say that. But if he thought that it was more to his benefit to move over and play tight end, a much thinner position, a more highly coveted position, now he's a second-round pick. I think if he stayed at cornerback, then maybe he doesn't make the top 3 rounds. I don't really know, but in this way, he's a second-round pick, and he's got himself a starting role on a good team.
All right, so St. Louis on the clock, guys. I don't even want to ask this question. Demond, do we finally see them take a quarterback?
I don't even want to speak on it.
It's too late. It's too late.
Yeah.
They should have done this the last pick.
Fox Highwind at quarterback. I don't know, Rich.
Yeah, Liam.
Hey,
I know you've got something to say.
Hey, I did a few games in the SFLM. Cameron Curtis was really impressive. Cameron Curtis out of Annapolis. He deserves to be a quarterback for an SFL team.
Agreed.
You can even pick him. I would have picked Dynasty with that pick, get him before Atlanta did, and fill that quarterback spot. Come on, we can do this. Get the QB in at St. Louis. We're going to go and win a championship in London or St. Louis or wherever. You know, one of those 2 teams. As long as they're playing well, that's all I care about in this league. Come on, we can do it.
We have a new panelist. But the pick is in. So we will go to Commissioner Cameron Irvine. Cam, tell us where they went.
Cameron Curtis, Javier Vasquez, anybody, a quarterback, just anybody.
Fox Highwind at quarterback.
With the 43rd pick of the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the St. Louis Gladiators select Javier Vasquez, quarterback, Springfield, Massachusetts. Jacksonville has the final pick of round 2. Demond, hold up the baby.
I was going to say, Liam's ecstatic, and Demond has the best-looking panelist sitting on his lap right there. Let's go to Demond. Tell us what that other panelist there. What your friend thinks about this pick.
DJ's excited for St. Louis to pick up a quarterback finally here in this SFL draft. But he's mostly intrigued by the lights and the ceiling fans and stuff like that.
He's excited.
But no, great pick for St. Louis to get the quarterback. Here, I hope it's someone that they can groom and build, and someone who can stick around for quite some time for their organization.
All right, Liam, I know you want to talk. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, I had some inside information that Javier Vasquez would be the pick here because I'm just that good, So no, Yeah. Take back everything I said. Great pick by St. Louis. This is Javier Vasquez is a great guy. He's going to be their quarterback, hopefully, for a good few seasons now. No more turmoil. We've got the guy who won in St. Louis now. He's going to get them to even greater heights than even Johnny Pickler was able to do. Great pick. Love it.
Robert, let's go to Robert Garrett Jr. Robert, I think I heard him saying Cameron Curtis before the pick, and now he's saying he had some inside information. What do you think about this pick?
I think it's a great pick. I mean, a lot of people that I talked to before the draft, we kept talking about the quarterback situation and everything, and Javier Vasquez was the name I kept coming up with for St. Louis. It made sense to me. They were missing the quarterback. They lost Gerald, their coach, and Vasquez fits both of those. He coaches in the minor league. He's learning how to do that, and he's a quarterback. What better way to bring him in?
Boy, in the second pick of the second round, and what kind of value is that to get that high of a rated quarterback with that coaching experience and all that extra stuff to go with it? Tim Hackett, tell us about Javier and what you saw in him.
From a coaching standpoint, I think Robert hit the nail on the head that Javier Vasquez has such a unique story. He's learning how to coach in the minor league, which was really the whole point. Players learn how to play, coaches learn how to coach, everybody learns how to scout and build and run a team. He had zero coaching experience. He was telling Mike and Proto prior to the championship game on Friday, zero coaching experience in this SFL minor or major league or otherwise, and he takes his team all the way to the championship game. They win their first 4 games and finish at 6-4, the second best record, and as the runners up. A really impressive debut performance and an audition for himself to try to show what he can do helping out in a coaching staff at the higher level. And just the last point here that finally stops the trend, 9 straight players taken at their secondary positions. Of course, that stretch of 9 straight bookended by the 2 quarterbacks, Javier Vasquez and Bryant Dynasty.
Well, I was going to go to Demond, but he's handling business. So let's go to Liam. Liam, the Kings are on the clock. Jacksonville, last pick of the second round. Let's talk about that pick.
I'm just trying to get down from my high, Rich. I'm exhausted. That just past 2:30 in the morning over here in the UK, so I'm not anywhere close to the record, but we're getting there. Yeah. So Frank's one of my best friends in the league, great guy. He's so giving of his time, and I think for Jacksonville, it's really the one thing that stands out to me is Jacksonville haven't really done all that much on the defensive line so far, and Frank is the pioneer of having that all-star defensive line. So I think Jacksonville may go in that direction here. Who exactly they would go for, it's completely up in the air, as Tim's pointed out.
Yeah.
So many secondary builds. One of the things that the St. Louis pick does, it does give them flexibility in the next round. So they have the option there to go for a secondary build where other teams will not be doing that. So they can sit on their hands a bit and wait for the player to come to them, rather than go out and pursue that player. So,
all right, the pick is in. Jacksonville has made the last selection of the second round. So let's find out which direction they went. And one more time tonight, check in with Cameron Irvine.
With the final pick in the second round of the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Jacksonville Kings select Mike St. Green, wide receiver, Houston, Texas. The third round begins at 7 Eastern tomorrow.
So Jacksonville goes wide receiver with Mike St. Green. Let's check in with everybody one more time before we get out of here tonight. Tim Hackett, we'll start with you.
I think it's fitting that we end the second round with a wide receiver the same way that we started the round. Liam and I were kind of in concurrence that we would have a lot more wide receivers drafted today than we saw yesterday. It was only 5 all told, counting this last pick, but still a lot more than the 0 yesterday. I think teams clearly showed to have more of a premium on those offensive skill positions, primary or secondary. So Now there are no more open quarterback spots. Mike St. Green wants a spot in the major league. He sees the opportunity to play wide receiver with a team that needs it, and he takes the opportunity. Good pick.
Robert Garrett Jr., to you.
Mike St. Green's a huge pickup for Jacksonville. Losing their receiver was big for them, especially because he was their punt and kick returner as well last season. So Mike St. Green's filling in a lot of empty spots, and I think it was good pickup for them, and good for him to find a team.
Damon Simeon, final thoughts.
A great second round here of the draft. I mean, I'm pretty excited about the turnout that we had today for all of our viewers and so forth. And congratulations to Mike St. Green, someone who I reached out earlier today myself, speaking about a secondary build for this individual. But good to see that he was able to go and play, be selected by Jacksonville to play his primary position. So congratulations on that, and congratulations to the Jacksonville Kings as well on their new selection.
And Liam Crowder, give me your thoughts on this.
Well, it's been a roller coaster over the night, but it's all about the journey. And Mike St. Green's a great pick here. As was pointed out, if you want to get a spot in the major leagues now, it's not going to be as a quarterback. The quarterbacks are completely filled. So, teams are looking to fill out spots with secondary builds where the value is there. There's been some really key stories, really key players who we thought would have been drafted well before now, who are still available. And teams may be going in directions that we did not expect. As far as I'm concerned, every draft excels itself. Thanks so much to Cam for everything he does. It's been another great night. I'm looking forward to seeing what exactly the third round will be, because if this round was crazy, and it most certainly was, with that switch to the secondary builds, tomorrow night is just going to be just as crazy, if not more.
Yeah, so the draft will continue tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, draft rounds 3 and 4 right back here on YouTube. And then we take a break again. Friday night, we go with round 5. And Saturday night, we go with round 6 and 7. So make sure you get back out here on YouTube and check out those draft rounds. Season 15 will kick off on July the 17th. Friday night, July 17th, with Baltimore at Atlanta. The defending champions looking to make another march toward the championship game once again, try and repeat. They filled some holes tonight that they had to fill, but just keep that in mind. July 17th, we start season 15. So we'll go around one more time and ask for everybody's final thoughts and just overview. I know you kind of did that, Liam, but just give you your overview of Robert Garrett Jr. We'll start with you. Give me your overview of tonight's draft and how you think it went.
Yeah, it's been a great draft. It's interesting to see how teams are going with these secondary picks now opening up. Interesting to see some big names still on the board. Fox Highwind, a major one, and it's going to be fun the next couple of days and the rest of this week, seeing how things pan out.
Tim Hackett.
I think at the end of the day, even with all the craziness, a couple of things that we expected to happen would happen. Atlanta gets Bryant Dynasty. St. Louis gets Javier Vasquez. These were two almost foregone conclusions, it seemed. And then the chips fall around those two big moves. And so there are no quarterbacks left, no quarterback spots left open. As Liam said, there are very few running backs left available, except for Fox Highwind, like Robert said. And now there are a whole bunch more wide receivers and defensive backs that are available, hopefully at their primary positions moving forward. So this was a lot of fun. So many surprises. I don't think I got a single pick right. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of it goes.
Hey, Liam at least got the quarterback pick right. Well, at least the quarterback spot right for Atlanta there at the end, right?
Give it to him.
Like I say, my target is 1. Get my 1 pick right, and that's right. About it.
Well, I told you last season, I don't think we got any right on the panel I was on, at least. So we'll check in with you again, Liam. Just your overview of how things went tonight.
Yeah, no, absolutely great. Props to everybody who came into the chat and supported it, and I appreciate the vibrance of the response in the chat. It gives this league personality, and that's an amazing thing. We take this very seriously. It's the old Cam quote of "It's supposed to hurt." And that absolutely is true when it comes to stuff like the draft and when it comes to matches. So I hope everybody enjoyed tonight. Looking forward to seeing you all again tomorrow. 2 big picks for London still left. We got slots that we want to fill. I'm sure Robert and Demond will have key things to clue in on. So good luck to those guys, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of the draft.
And Demond, we'll give you the final word from the panel.
Love it. Outstanding draft, as I stated earlier. I want to give a shout out to those who are in the chat who are giving us great compliments as far as how great of a job we've done tonight. Thank you all so much for the love. We appreciate you. Thank you for being fans of the SFL. Thank you for being players, coaches, and all that you do to help make this league to be the success that it is. I'm just ecstatic, dude. I'm just excited, should I say, about what happened here in the second round. So many secondary builds came off the board that we saw that I was not expecting to happen. I didn't expect to see it happen until maybe the third round or so. But man, I mean, people got value out of these second builds, for spots that they needed to fill for their team. One thing I tell players in the free agency period is make the decision that you feel is best for you and your player. Tonight, we saw teams make the better decision for their team, and that's what happened tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what these guys said. I appreciate everybody in the chat, all the excitement. I enjoy it when this draft goes in a direction we're not expecting it to go. That's a heck of a lot of fun. I tell you what, the looks on Liam's face sometimes when these picks went a different direction, that was a heck of a lot of fun. And I just enjoy doing this. I appreciate Cam giving me a chance to get out here and host tonight's draft, and Mike Daggs for trusting me enough to get out here and do this. And you guys, I tell you what, you guys made it work tonight, and I appreciate you guys. Did a great job.
Oh, thank you so much.
So don't forget tomorrow night. Yeah, tomorrow night. Round 3 and 4 right here on YouTube. So make sure you get back out here for that. And then we'll take a break till Friday and Saturday. We've got the final 2 or 3 rounds of the draft. So don't miss that. Lots of guys yet to get picked and lots of positions to fill. You never know when you're going to get picked. So make sure you're here. Once again, everybody, thank you. Everybody in the chat, everybody that was watching, thank you for being here tonight. Couldn't do it without you guys. This community is awesome. And it's a privilege to be a part of it. So for Demond, Tim, Robert, and Liam, my name is Rich Pratchard, and I appreciate it once again, everybody joining us. We will be back tomorrow night with round 3 and 4, so don't miss it. You've been watching the Simulation Football League Season 15 draft on YouTube.